Chapter 8:12. Boom! The time it took to finish a cup of tea passed, and the three balls of flames exploded before they could fuse, filling his dantian with countless sparks. Fortunately, the space within his dantian was incomparably large and contained a vast starfield. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to withstand the powerful impact of the three balls of flames exploding at the same time. The space within his dantian managed to withstand it, but his chaos nascent soul didn't last more than 2 breaths of time before it collapsed and exploded as well. The explosion of a single drop of chaos origin power could form a vast starfield, and there was no telling how much chaos origin power was contained within the nascent soul. If it had exploded and unleashed its full power, it might have been able to flatten Gourd Island, not to mention Xiaoling Yu's body. However, just as Xiaoling Yu realized that things weren't looking good, he discovered that the flames that had dispersed first were actually absorbing the chaos origin power frantically. As the chaos origin power rapidly swept in all directions, its might was continuously being absorbed and weakened by the flames. As such, the impact from the explosion of the nascent soul had been reduced to the lowest possible level before it could even reach the space within his dantian. All of the chaos origin power that had exploded was absorbed by the sparks, and the flames that were originally the size of beans burned even more vigorously at this moment. Xiaoling Yu could clearly sense that the flames and chaos origin power were fusing together, and the latter was rapidly being consumed. Although the chaos origin power didn't have a cultivation art to coordinate with it after the explosion, its innate nature caused it to automatically draw the flames that were burning it and slowly gather them together. When the chaos origin power absorbed by the flames was completely burned away, the flames would stop and gradually dim, as if they were about to be extinguished. Xiaoling Yu began to mobilize the chaos origin power in his body and pour it into his dantian. He felt that he couldn't let the flames extinguish, or he would be done for. There wasn't much chaos origin power in his body, but there were countless blood crystals that contained chaos origin power and life essence in his bones and blood vessels. He kept detonating those blood crystals and pouring the chaos origin power and life essence into his dantian. Chaos origin power could be ignited and gathered on its own, and so could life essence. After all, Xiaoling Yu still had some experience in cultivation. He also used the most common nascent soul condensing technique, which was quite useful. It sped up the formation of the chaotic nascent soul. In the end, the new chaotic divine infant was successfully formed. It might not be as miraculous as before, but its entire body shone with silver-white flames, and it was at least 10 times smaller than before. Moreover, although he looked much smaller and his strength was not as dense as before, the quality of the chaos origin force within him seemed to have increased by quite a bit. This was nothing. The most important thing was that the flames all over his body looked very similar to Yunhai's Nirvana flame, but its power was definitely more than 100 times stronger. According to the cultivation method of ordinary cultivators, Xiaoling Yu knew that she had completed the most crucial step, which was to form her own primal chaos Nirvana true flame. She could be considered to have successfully broken through to the primal chaos Nirvana stage. The following cultivation was still the same as an ordinary cultivator, using the chaotic Nirvana true flame to temper his body. I think you can return the copied memories to me now. When Anya came again, Xiaoling Yu said to her, "You've broken through?" Anya asked in surprise. "I think so. As for the specifics, I'll have to recover my memories first to be sure." Xiaoling Yu nodded. Anya did not dawdle. She immediately handed a jade slip to Xiaoling Yu. Xiaoling Yu, on the other hand, began to read the contents of the jade slip carefully and seriously. Although it was a copy, because Anya's cultivation level was too low, Xiaoling Yu would definitely lose a lot of memories. However, the parts that were lost were all related to the comprehension of cultivation level. His memories of people and things would not be lost. Just as Anya said before, Xiaoling Yu's cultivation level had dropped a lot. However, His cultivation in the soul realm could be rapidly improved by constantly absorbing the life pearls of Nirvana stage demon beasts, so the impact of this drop was not very big. With the previous memories, Shaolin Yu could not help but sigh. So this is what it means to break through and reach Nirvana. It means to let the primal chaos true flame break through and then establish. However, if it was in the past, even if I knew this, I would definitely not dare to try it. I was too cautious in the past. Every time I broke through, I had to prepare all the materials and raise the success rate to the maximum before trying to break through. It has become a habit of mine. Breaking through and reaching Nirvana is actually very simple. It's just that I thought too much in the past. In this way, clearing my memories to cultivate was indeed the right choice. The ignorant are the most fearless. Next, Shaolin Yu used yang crystals to purchase some life pearls of body and Nirvana heart stage demon beasts in the city. He absorbed the comprehension of their realms and raised his soul realm to the level of Nirvana heart stage. I should be at the early stage of primal chaos Nirvana stage right now. However, if I use the primal chaos true flame to temper my body, my strength will definitely not be weaker than Nirvana soul stage experts. If I use the formless giant demon art, even nascent soul stage experts will not be my match. If I am at the mid-stage of primal chaos Nirvana stage, I should not be afraid of true Nirvana stage experts. As for the late stage of primal chaos Nirvana stage, I will definitely be an invincible existence under the Star Realm. At the peak of the late stage, I should be able to fight against ordinary Star Realm experts. Shaolin Yu first sorted out his gains over the years, and then speculated on the strength of Primal Chaos Nirvana stage experts. Primal Chaos True Flame and Primal Chaos Origin Power of a higher quality were things that other Nirvana stage cultivators did not have. It was also Shaolin Yu's powerful capital. The increase in his cultivation level and strength would also make the lethality of his Heaven's Eye of Destruction stronger. Now that hundreds of thousands of years have passed, why hasn't the Howling Celestial Dog returned? It seems like things didn't go well. After Shaolin Yu thought of the Howling Celestial Dog, he naturally thought of the Xian Yuan sword. With a thought, the Xian Yuan sword appeared in his hand. The huge increase in his strength made this simple sword seem less heavy. However, he still had not completed the tempering of his body, so he was still unable to wield it freely. Forcefully wielding it would greatly increase the speed of his energy consumption. What is this sword made of? It's so heavy. Shaolin Yu was very curious. Even the demon ceiling tower, made of primal chaos black iron, was not as heavy as the Xian Yuan sword. Ordinary cultivators used the Nirvana True Flame to temper their bodies and complete the process of body puppet cultivation. The progress was very slow. After all, they did not dare to use the Nirvana True Flame to burn their bodies with all their might. Shaolin Yu was different. He had tried to burn his body with powerful flames many times. Although it was extremely painful, his progress was fast. However, the power of the Primal Chaos True Flame was too strong. He had to prepare some high-quality materials and elixirs to support it. He did not lack yang crystals, so it would not be too difficult to buy materials. As for elixirs, he could also buy them, but the price might be extremely expensive. Now that he had 7 wives and 6 children, this large family was very ambitious and unwilling to be mediocre. The consumption of their cultivation was very astonishing. Shaolin Yu could not sit still and eat. One more thing worth mentioning was that with the help of the Star Pole Magnet, Myling had also advanced to the body puppet realm. From the 8th celestial stage of longevity to the body puppet realm, it only took a few 100,000 years. Myling's speed was very fast. The cultivation of the Nirvana realm consumed a lot of resources. If one wanted to improve quickly, it would be impossible without the support of a rich family. To Myling, as long as he had enough resources, he would be able to cultivate to the extreme celestial stage at the fastest speed. He did not go to the Awakening God Tower anymore. The manager, Master Yu, also came a few times. He only came to visit like a friend and did not let Shaolin Yu and Myling take turns to be on duty. Anyway, There were many awakening gods in the Awakening God Tower. It did not matter if there were two less. After a few 100,000 years of recuperation, Master Yu's injuries were completely healed. Moreover, he seemed to be in high spirits and often had a smile on his face. In the Gourd City, Xiaoling Yu did not find the materials and elixirs he needed, so he decided to go to the floating cloud city again. This time, he did not ask Myling to go with him, nor did he bring Ling. Instead, he went alone. Although it had been a long time since he worked in the Awakening God Tower, Master Yu still opened the door for Xiaoling Yu and used the teleportation array on the 3rd floor to send him there. After the teleportation ended, Xiaoling Yu flew at a moderate speed for a day and entered the floating cloud city. The materials and elixirs that Xiaoling Yu wanted to buy were the kind that could help him maintain his body when the primal nirvana true fire was tempering his body. These kinds of materials and elixirs could only be found in the big cities, and there are not many of them. He first went to the Danxiang Peak and went through dozens of shops before he found the elixir he needed. This elixir was called the Indestructible Golden Elixir. From a name, one could guess how powerful it was. The shopkeeper's price was also very shocking. One indestructible golden elixir cost 23 million yuan crystals, and after a rough estimate, Xiaoling Yu needed at least 5 indestructible golden elixirs to satisfy his needs. 5 indestructible golden elixirs were worth more than 100 million yuan crystals. Xiaoling Yu's scalp tingled. It was actually a waste to use the indestructible golden body elixir to protect the body when tempering it. This elixir was mainly used to preserve the body when a cultivator was in great danger. It had the effect of saving lives, which was why it was so valuable. This was only one of the elixirs and materials that Xiaoling Yu needed, and it already cost so many yuan crystals. If he collected all the materials, even if Xiaoling Yu went bankrupt, he would not be able to complete it. Therefore, Xiaoling Yu thought of selling those prescriptions. After he walked around the Danxiang Peak a few times, he found a shop that bought prescriptions. When the shopkeeper saw him, he smiled brightly. Chapter 8:13. This shop was really rich. It took less than the time it took to brew a cup of tea to take out 300 million yuan crystals in one go. It was obvious that this shop had a very deep background. Little brother is really a strange person. If you have similar prescriptions, you can take them out and sell them to this little shop. This little shop will definitely buy them at the highest price in Floating Cloud City. We will not let little brother suffer a loss. As the shopkeeper spoke, he was also secretly surprised. The last time this little brother came, he was still in the immortal realm. Now, he actually had the aura of the Nirvana realm. Moreover, it didn't seem like he had just advanced to the body puppet realm. This speed of progress could be called a genius. In addition, this little brother was actually able to take out so many long-lost prescriptions. The shopkeeper, who was knowledgeable, had reason to think that this little brother either had a very strong background or was a powerful figure in the immortal realm who had recultivated. No matter which of these two situations it was, he had to deal with it carefully. The price given by the shopkeeper is indeed fair. If there is a chance, I will come back and cooperate with your shop again. After Xiaoling Yu politely said these words, he went to buy the indestructible golden elixirs. Buying 5 indestructible golden elixirs in one go was already a very big deal. The shopkeeper of the elixir shop rounded up the price and received 110 million yuan crystals for Xiaoling Yu. In addition, Xiaoling Yu already had a lot of yuan crystals. After buying 5 indestructible golden elixirs, he still had more than 200 million yuan crystals. He spent another 100 million yuan crystals to buy all the materials and elixirs. He didn't hurry to leave. He went to the other peaks and bought a lot of materials for his wives and friends to cultivate. He also exchanged them for 10 million moon crystals. The cultivation of the immortal realm actually did not consume too many yuan crystals. After all, the value of the immortal realm demonic beast life pearls was not very high. However, the cultivation of the Nirvana realm required thousands of times more resources than that of the immortal realm. The consumption of resources was extremely fast. The life pearls of Nirvana realm demonic beasts were often worth more than 10 million yuan crystals. After all, Hunting Nirvana realm demonic beasts was very dangerous and difficult, unless one had the help of an Astral Extreme Realm expert. Astral Extreme Realm experts were already the peak existences in the world of immortals. They were neither friends nor relatives, so they wouldn't help an ordinary cultivator for no reason. Xiao Yu had just advanced to the primal chaos Nirvana realm, and there was still a long way to go before he could reach the Extreme Star realm. In order to make this path a bit smoother, he decided to find an Extreme Star realm helper. He believed that this helper was Myling. Myling hadn't reached the Extreme Astral realm yet, but with the Star Pole Magnet, he would soon reach the Extreme Astral realm, as long as he had enough yang crystals to support his cultivation. Therefore, Xiao Yu wanted to invest in Myling. She wanted to invest more of the yang crystals she earned in Myling. If Myling relied on her kindness to reach the Extreme Astral realm, he would definitely take care of her family. Judging from Myling's attitude towards the Awakening God Towers manager, Myling was definitely a person who valued friendship and righteousness and knew how to repay kindness. Xiao Yu believed that she was absolutely not wrong about this. However, Myling needed hundreds of millions of yang crystals to advance from the current physique realm to the Extreme Astral realm. Moreover, Xiao Yu's wives and friends would also enter the Nirvana realm one after another, and would also attack the Extreme Astral realm. He really didn't know how much wealth he would need to maintain this for a long time. There were only a few prescriptions left, and at most, he could exchange them for another 100 million yang crystals. Therefore, he had to think of a way to get them. If only that howling celestial dog had come back earlier. With its help, it would have been a lot easier. Xiao Yu couldn't help but complain in his heart. To Xiao Yu's surprise, before he even left the city, he was stopped by a young woman who looked like she was 26 or 27 years old. Although the young woman blocked his way, she had a faint smile on her face, and her attitude was relatively amiable. "Little brother, your glabella is dark. Soon, a bloody disaster will befall you." The young woman's words were shocking. Big sister, could it be that you're also like those Jianghu scammers in the secular world, using your lotus blossom tongue to fool people? Xiao Yu replied with a smile. "Little brother, don't doubt me. I've never misjudged anyone," the young woman said with a smile. Needless to say, this young woman wore a lavender palace dress. Her eyebrows and eyes were picturesque, and her figure was graceful. Her appearance was very beautiful, and her words and actions carried a bit of elegance and nobility. She didn't look like a swindler at all. "Then this one will wait and see," Xiao Yu replied, and then continued to walk towards the city gate with an unchanged expression. The young woman only shook her head and didn't follow Xiao Yu anymore. After leaving the city, Xiao Yu leaped up and flew towards the gourd island at full speed. After 4 hours, he discovered that there were actually 2 cultivators following behind him. He still had some impression of one of these 2 cultivators. It was the valiant boss who came to Floating Cloud City last time and was scared away by his 8-faced Nirvana fire sealing array. He had a cultivation of the Nirvana heart stage. Beside that valiant boss, there was a thin old man with a haggard appearance. The old man wore a black robe. The black robe wrapped around his entire body, causing others to be unable to see his face clearly. Xiao Yu also couldn't see the exact cultivation of this old man. It was very obvious that this old man was an expert. What was even more obvious was that the 2 of them followed him all the way, and they absolutely didn't have good intentions. "Looks like there really is a bloody disaster." Xiao Yu secretly laughed bitterly. Then he took out the wings of extreme speed, and a stack of array flags appeared in his hand. The 2 of them were speeding up in pursuit. After a few minutes, they were already less than 3,000 feet away from Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu didn't continue to fly. When he stopped, the array flags in his hand had already disappeared into the void around him. A wave of hurried incantations and a group of seals were formed, and the 8-faced Nirvana fire sealing array was instantly formed. However, the instant the array was formed, the old man brought the valiant boss and suddenly retreated several thousand feet, and they didn't plunge into the array. Xiao Yu frowned slightly. The other party had come prepared, and they had long known the power of his 8-faced Nirvana fire sealing array. He wasn't too nervous. He immediately placed himself in the array and continuously controlled the array flags to continue flying with him. Now that his realm and cultivation had improved greatly, he could maintain the 8-faced Nirvana fire sealing array for a long time. He believed that the two of them would definitely lose their patience first. Just as he expected, the two of them had been following him for a full day. In the end, they couldn't help but speed up and go around to block Xiao Lingyu's path. The black-robed old man leaped to the front of the formation. With a loud shout, he threw a punch. As he stretched his arm forward, a huge pitch-black energy fist was formed. When his action was completed, the huge black fist had already ruthlessly smashed into the formation. The roaring Nirvana true fire surged and then suddenly contracted, causing the entire array to tremble. It's actually a soul Nirvana stage cultivator. Xiao Lingyu narrowed his eyes. After feeling the old man's powerful attack, he finally realized that the problem was a bit tricky. If it was a Nirvana soul stage cultivator, he could easily deal with them with the 8-faced Nirvana fire sealing array. However, if it was a soul Nirvana stage cultivator, this array alone wouldn't be able to force them back. However, even so, he still controlled the array flags to quickly move forward. The old man might have felt that the array wasn't very powerful, so he didn't retreat and allowed the array to surround him. When the array surrounded the old man and the Nirvana true fire surged toward him, a black flame suddenly appeared on his body. The defense of the black flame was extremely powerful. No matter how the Nirvana true fire attacked it, it didn't seem to be damaged at all and continued to protect the old man. The old man didn't seem to be proficient in arrays, but after he was surrounded by the array flags, he continued to wave his arms. Giant, black energy fists continued to bombard the array, causing it to tremble. It probably wouldn't be able to last much longer. At this moment, the young woman that stopped Xiao Lingyu in Floating Cloud City appeared not far away from the 8-faced Nirvana fire sealing array. She smiled and said, "If you don't listen to me, then you'll suffer a loss. With a soul Nirvana realm cultivator attacking, your flag array that can only deal with a Nirvana soul realm cultivator is completely useless." As for the valiant boss who was standing outside the formation, he also saw the young woman. He originally wanted to go up and give her a warning, but he discovered that he could not see through the young woman's cultivation. Seeing that she did not even look at him, he guessed that the young woman was an expert and could not be provoked. The fierce boss thought, "This time, I spent 20 million sun crystals to invite an expert from the Black Wind Ridge. I think I can avenge my brothers." Xiao Lingyu, who was inside the array, naturally wouldn't just sit there and wait for death. The 8-faced Nirvana fire sealing array could only delay the old man for another 20 breaths. He didn't have time to waste, so he immediately used the array as a cover to launch a destructive, bloody attack at the old man. Because his cultivation was lower than the old man's, he couldn't lock onto the old man and attack him. He could only use the array to restrict the old man's movement speed so that the old man couldn't dodge. The old man seemed to have underestimated the power of the destructive, bloody light. He waved his hand and sent out a black fire snake to meet it. The destructive, bloody light instantly pierced through the black fire snake and continued to move forward with its power slightly reduced. It was impossible for the old man to completely dodge, but he leaned to the side so that the destructive, bloody light didn't hit his vitals. It only blasted off on his arms. The old man had suffered a serious injury with just one attack. This made the old man angry, but at the same time, he became more cautious. The old man put away his contempt and no longer stood still. Instead, he first took a pill and then moved at an extremely fast speed. Xiao Lingyu, who was experienced in fighting, knew that he had to get close to the old man. If he got close to the old man, it would be harder for the old man to dodge his attack. Of course, he would also be hit more easily. However, he had no other choice but to take the risk. When the old man saw Xiao Lingyu charge at him, he revealed a disdainful smile. His body flashed with black flames as he also charged forward. Chapter 814. The black-robed old man's fist was wrapped in a ring of black flames. The black flames carried a bone-chilling coldness. It was the nirvana, true fire of the Een attribute. Everyone in the realm of immortals knew that cultivators with the moon attribute were much more powerful than cultivators with the yang attribute. The nirvana, true fire of the Een attribute not only had a high temperature, but it also had a freezing effect. This was one of the advantages of nirvana realm cultivators with the moon attribute. However, Shaolin Yu's primal chaos true fire was not something a normal nirvana true fire of a yang attribute cultivator could compare to. The silver-white chaotic nirvana true flame instantly enveloped Shaolin Yu's fist, and in the next moment, the two fiery fists fiercely collided together. In terms of true fire, the primal chaos true fire was not weaker than the opponent's. However, in terms of power, Shaolin Yu was clearly much weaker than the Nirvana Realm cultivator. When the two fists collided, he felt a huge force rush into his body. In an instant, his body was pushed back thousands of feet, and he was blasted out of the eight-faced Nirvana fire ceiling formation. At this moment, the wings of extreme speed suddenly flashed. Surrounded by a ring of silver light, Shaolin Yu once again charged into the eight-faced Nirvana fire ceiling formation. Without the help of the flag formation, he would not be able to defeat a Nirvana Realm cultivator. After entering the flag formation again, he charged toward the old man. The old man was also secretly shocked. Shaolin Yu's cultivation was clearly not as high as his, but his true fire, which looked like something only a Nirvana Realm cultivator would have, was actually able to suppress his Nirvana true fire. When the two fists collided, although it seemed like he had blasted Shaolin Yu away, in reality, his fist was also in pain. Seeing Shaolin Yu charge toward him again, the black-robed old man suddenly raised his arm, and a chain of fire snaked toward Shaolin Yu. Shaolin Yu did not look at the chain of fire anymore. At this critical moment, he took out the life-severing dagger and slashed out a ray of chaotic blade energy. His cultivation had just improved. The chaotic blade energy, which was condensed from a purer and more tyrannical chaotic origin force, had just flashed a cold light when it ruthlessly struck the old man's arm. The old man felt an excruciating pain coming from his single arm, and the chain of fire suddenly dissipated. He couldn't help but be astonished, and at this moment, the chaotic blade radiance came from the pain in his arm. "Brat, I'll make sure you die a horrible death." The other party wasn't injured, but both of his arms had been chopped off. The old man seemed incomparably violent. With a furious roar, black chains of fire surged out of the old man's body like poisonous snakes. Shaolin Yu's intuition told her that just one black chain of fire was enough to severely injure her. If all of them hit her, she would probably die. He still didn't hesitate in the slightest, resolutely pouncing towards his opponent at an even faster speed. The vertical eye between his brows opened once more. This time, he used all of his remaining power to launch the attack of the heavenly eye of destruction. If he couldn't kill his opponent, he would lose his life here. As for using the formless giant demon art to forcefully increase his strength, it was obviously not suitable for the current situation. After all, even if he forcefully increased his strength, he wouldn't be able to reach the level of a Nirvana Soul cultivator. If his body became larger, it would be easier for his opponent to attack him. When the dozens of black chains of fire charged over, a ray of destructive, blood-colored light shot out from Shaolin Yu's forehead. Although the old man was injured, he was still at the Nirvana Soul stage, so he should be able to dodge this ray of destructive, blood-colored light. However, what surprised Shaolin Yu was that although the old man was clearly about to move, he only trembled for a moment. His body actually stopped at this critical moment. In that moment, the destructive, blood-colored light mercilessly smashed into the old man's head and directly blew it up. The golden soul bead in his sea of consciousness was naturally not spared. The black-robed old man's soul had already dissipated. However, although most of the dozens of black chains of fire he released dissipated with his death, a small portion of them still hit Shaolin Yu's body. Fortunately, Xiao Yu possessed the chaotic nirvana true flames to protect his entire body, and under the circumstances that their owner was already dead, the 10-plus black-colored flaming chains only brought him waves of intense pain and caused his body to suffer a heavy injury, yet they didn't kill him on the spot. However, he still couldn't understand why the old man stopped just now. At this moment, a nascent soul covered in fire came out of the black-robed old man's headless body. The nascent soul naturally wanted to escape, but it couldn't break out of the eight-sided nirvana fire sealing formation in an instant. Xiao Yu didn't think too much about it. After he stabilized his body, he quickly moved forward and used his primal chaos true nirvana fire to seal the nascent soul. The nascent soul struggled painfully in the primal chaos true nirvana fire. It first roared at Xiao Yu with a ferocious expression, as if it was threatening Xiao Yu. Seeing that Xiao Yu didn't move at all, it put its hands together and begged bitterly. Xiao Yu still remained unmoved. He used the might of the primal chaotic nirvana true flames to wash the nascent soul. And when the nascent soul became even weaker, he suddenly launched a soul attack to wipe out the little soul consciousness contained within the nascent soul, causing it to become a moon attribute energy body in the shape of a small person. Although this nascent soul wasn't big, it had undergone nirvana. The pure moon energy it contained definitely exceeded tens of millions of moon crystals. As for the black-robed old man's storage magic treasure, Xiao Yu naturally wouldn't be polite. After tidying up properly, Xiao Yu fed himself a healing medicinal pill before exiting the eight-sided nirvana flame sealing formation. He sneered as he looked at the valiant boss who was waiting outside the formation. When the valiant boss saw that it was Xiao Yu who had come out and that the expert he had spent a lot of money to invite had disappeared, he had a look of disbelief on his face. The next moment, the valiant boss realized that he should run away, but it was already too late. After Xiao Yu entered the primal chaos nirvana stage, his control of the eight-sided nirvana fire sealing formation became more and more smooth. With a thought, the formation quickly moved and surrounded the valiant boss. Even a soul nirvana stage expert would be greatly restricted in the eight-sided nirvana fire sealing formation, not to mention the valiant boss was only at the nirvana heart stage. He only lasted for less than 100 breaths of time before he was burned by the nirvana true fire until only his nirvana heart was left. His storage magic treasure was naturally taken by Xiao Yu. When Xiao Yu put away the eight-sided nirvana fire sealing formation, the young woman appeared before him again. Although Xiao Yu was on full alert, he knew that if the young woman wanted to harm him at this moment, he would be powerless to resist. Xiao Yu said indifferently, "Fellow Taoist really has a godly foresight." The young woman said complacently, "I told you that I have never misjudged, but you didn't believe me." Xiao Yu asked, "If I'm not wrong, the reason why the black-robed old man suddenly stopped at the critical moment was because of fellow Taoist help, right? It's fine as long as you're aware of it in your heart. There's no need to speak of it. If the cultivators of Blackwind Ridge heard it, then it wouldn't be easy to endure the rage of eccentric Black Fiend." Although the young woman said this, there wasn't the slightest bit of worry in her tone. Xiao Yu asked, "May I ask why fellow Taoist helped me?" The young woman said, "Because I want to do business with you." Xiao Yu asked, "What business?" The young woman replied, "The business of medicinal formulas." Xiao Yu frowned and asked, "You belong to that store?" The young woman smiled as she replied, "Hee, you can say that. To be more precise, that store is mine." Xiao Yu pondered for a moment before he withdrew the remaining medicinal formulas and the storage magic treasures of the two people he killed earlier, and he said, "I'll give all of these to fellow Taoist. Take it as my thanks for your help earlier." The young woman shook her head and only received the medicinal formulas, and she said, "These few medicinal formulas are enough. You risked your life to obtain the others. I don't want them." Xiao Yu didn't refuse and immediately put the items away. However, the young woman continued, "However, just these few medicinal formulas aren't enough to get rid of me." Xiao Yu sighed and said, Does fellow Taoist think that I have more medicinal formulas on me? The young woman suddenly stood less than a foot away from Xiao Yu, and there was only a fist distance between the two of them. She stared closely at Xiao Yu and stretched out a finger to lift Xiao Yu's chin and said, "Did you forget that I can predict? There's nothing you can hide from me. I know that you don't have more medicinal formulas, but I know that you have a way to find more." Xiao Yu narrowed his eyes and said, "Fellow Taoist wants to use me to find more medicinal formulas?" The young woman repeatedly shook the scallion-like finger that she used to lift Xiao Yu's chin and said, "I'm not using you. To be precise, I'm cooperating. If you help me find more medicinal formulas, I naturally won't treat you unfairly." Xiao Yu pondered for a moment and said, "If I don't agree, what will fellow Taoists do?" Hee. The young woman first laughed, but this laughter wasn't as gentle as before. She replied, "You're a smart person. You should know that the outcome won't be good, so you won't choose that. Perhaps you still don't know the background of the black-robed old man you just killed. Let me tell you, he's a cultivator from Blackwind Mountain, and he seems to be the disciple of Old Freak Black Demon. As for Old Freak Black Demon, he's a genuine extreme astral realm expert. He can casually lift a finger and make you wish you were dead." Xiao Yu followed. "In that case, if I agree to cooperate with fellow Taoist, will fellow Taoist help me deal with Old Freak Black Demon?" The young woman shook her finger again and said, "I won't help you deal with that old freak, but at least I won't tell him about what happened today. If I don't tell him, he probably won't be able to find out that it was you. However, if you're too unlucky and really end up being targeted by that old freak, then I can only wish you good luck." Xiao Yu had a gloomy expression and said, "Since fellow Taoist says so, why should I make things difficult for myself?" The young woman was very satisfied with Xiao Yu's answer and said, "Don't worry, I won't let you work for nothing." However, Xiao Yu said, "Since fellow Taoist is so good at divination, then can't you find the medicinal formulas yourself? Won't that save me the trouble?" Chapter 8:15. To be honest, I also can't see where the prescription is hidden. I was only able to find it under the guidance of others, and it was very dangerous. Xiao Yu smiled bitterly as he slowly flew towards the gourd island. "Don't worry about the risks. I will follow you," the young woman said confidently. "Fellow Taoist should also be an extreme star realm expert, right?" Xiao Yu asked again. "You can say so," the young woman said vaguely. "Cooperating with such a strong expert like fellow Taoist, I really don't feel safe at all. If fellow Taoist suddenly turns hostile one day, I won't be able to keep my life." Xiao Yu said meaningfully, "You can rest assured, I will never do something like killing a donkey after it has outlived its usefulness." The young woman comforted him. "This is not beneficial to me at all. You and I have no enmity, so why should I harm you? Who knows how many prescriptions and other treasures are hidden in the world of immortals? We simply can't get enough of them. Harming you will only cause me to lose a way to make money." Xiao Yu asked curiously, "Fellow Taoist is already an extreme star realm expert, so why do you still need so many yang crystals?" The young woman replied with a smile, "Who wouldn't mind if their net worth was a bit richer?" Xiao Yu didn't ask any more questions. He felt that the young woman wasn't telling the truth, or rather, she didn't completely reveal her purpose. But as the saying goes, the less you know, the safer you are. It's better to ask less about things that have nothing to do with you. He wisely shut his mouth and continued to fly towards the gourd island. The young woman seemed to be sure that she had Xiao Yu under control. She kept following closely behind. No matter how fast Xiao Yu increased his speed, she was still very relaxed. It seemed that her speed was definitely much faster than Xiao Yu's. While flying, Xiao Yu thought to himself that he should first deal with her and delay her. When Howling Celestial Dog came back, he might be able to drive her away. This was just him comforting himself. There was no telling when the Howling Celestial Dog would return, or if it could return at all. However, at the very least, this young woman had helped her earlier. If not for her, not only would it have been difficult for Xiao Yu to kill the black-robed elder, she might even have been killed by him. Logically speaking, Xiaoling Yu owed her a huge favor. Even if she had the intention of using her, Xiaoling Yu could accept it at this moment. At this point, there was no point in thinking too much. There was no teleportation array to take back. Fortunately, she had just advanced to the early stage of chaotic nirvana, and her flying speed had increased a lot. It took less than 2 months for Xiaoling Yu to set foot on the hot land of Gourd Island. I think it's necessary for you to move to the floating cloud city. This Gourd Island is a small place after all. Although Gourd Bay is rich in resources, it can't be compared to the prosperous mainland of immortals. Furthermore, it will be easier for us to contact each other if you stay in Floating Cloud City. The young woman suggested after they arrived on the island. A small place has its advantages. At least it's quiet. Xiaoling Yu said non-committally. Hee, a dragon will eventually be like an abyss. Only fish and shrimps will live in the shallows. The young woman laughed. Soon, the two of them flew to the edge of Gourd Island. When Xiaoling Yu was hesitating whether to bring this young woman into his home, a few cultivators who seemed to have been waiting at the north gate of Gourd Island for a long time actually rushed over without saying a word. Those few cultivators looked unfamiliar. They didn't look like cultivators from Gourd Island. However, each of them had a valiant aura. Moreover, they all had the cultivation of Nirvana realm. When they rushed over together, it really gave people a feeling that they were unrivaled, especially when Xiaoling Yu had just experienced a battle. His injuries were only stable. Under the situation where his strength had not recovered, he was not a match for several Nirvana realm experts. Seems like it's rare for you to have peace in this small place. The young woman ridiculed, and then she stood in front of Xiaoling Yu. With a flick of her sleeve, a shapeless force surged out, and it actually forcefully trapped those rebirth realm cultivators on the way. I haven't gotten any benefits from you yet, and I'm already helping you solve your problem. You better not let my business suffer a loss. The young woman seemed to be displeased as she spoke. Xiaoling Yu's expression was somewhat gloomy. At this moment, he thought of the Yun clan. Although these few Nirvana realm cultivators didn't look like members of the Yun clan, he couldn't rule out the possibility that they were assassins hired by the Yun clan. After coming to the world of immortals for so long, only the Yun clan had the ability and determination to hire assassins to kill him. They hated him to the bone. The Yun clan was afraid of the powerful strength of the City Lord Mansion and Awakening God Tower. They didn't dare to make a move in the city. Therefore, it was reasonable for them to hire assassins to wait outside the city. However, these assassins waited until he arrived. They never thought that there would be a mysterious and powerful young woman accompanying him. Xiaoling Yu flew in front of those Nirvana realm cultivators who were already trapped. He asked coldly, "Who sent you?" Originally, he thought that he wouldn't get an answer easily. His question was unnecessary. However, he didn't expect that one of the assassins would directly say, "The Yun clan." Those who kill will be killed. Xiaoling Yu didn't have the slightest intention of being merciful. These cultivators came to take his life. He wouldn't be kind enough to let them go. With a thought, the silver-white primal chaos nirvana true fire appeared in his palm. Under the astonished gazes of countless cultivators passing by at the north gate of the Gourd City, the silver primal chaos nirvana true fire split into several parts and ignited the bodies of those Nirvana realm cultivators who couldn't move at all. Miserable screams immediately rose and fell. These assassins have no professional ethics. Even if their lives are in danger, they really shouldn't betray their master, the young woman said disdainfully. Who can guarantee that they're telling the truth? Xiaoling Yu stared at those assassins whose bodies were constantly being melted. He was secretly suspicious. If they're not telling the truth, then the person who invited them must be an enemy of the Yun clan, the young woman speculated. Could it be the Sang clan? Xiaoling Yu couldn't believe this conjecture. His relationship with the Sang clan wasn't bad. The Sang clan had no reason to send assassins to deal with him. After those assassins died tragically, Xiaoling Yu took their storage magic treasures and then entered the city. I told you that Big Brother's plan wouldn't work. It really did go wrong. After Xiaoling Yu and the young woman entered the city for a long time, Sangji walked out of the city from a north gate and said to his Uncle Ta, "It's just an accident. If it wasn't for that woman, young master's plan would have worked." Uncle Tua shook his head and said, "Where did that woman come from? What cultivation did she have to be able to make those Nirvana realm cultivators unable to resist?" Sangji asked. "She should be an extreme star realm cultivator. Otherwise, even if she completed the Nirvana realm and reached the true Nirvana realm, she wouldn't be so powerful." Uncle Tuo replied, "That guy is really strange. He actually hooked up with an extreme star realm cultivator." Sangji said worriedly, "I hope he won't think of our Sang clan, but will instead blame it on the Yun clan." Uncle Ta sighed and said, "Even if he doesn't come looking for trouble with our Sang clan, we've already lost a lot of money this time. So many Nirvana realm cultivators died all of a sudden. How many Yang crystals do we have to pay for their lives?" Sangji frowned and said, "Although they were hired by us, they can only blame themselves for being too weak. What does it have to do with our Sang clan?" Uncle Tuo smiled bitterly and said, "Young miss, you're oversimplifying things. Perhaps this assassin organization will take revenge on Shaoling Yu, but they definitely won't give us any face. They'll say that we've misjudged the difficulty of the mission. Our Sang clan isn't as powerful as this assassin organization, so we can only pay a large amount of Yang crystals to pay for these assassins' lives." Sangji said angrily, "These assassins are too stupid. We only let them disturb the target, but they rushed over with killing intent. Aren't they afraid of accidentally killing the target?" Uncle Tuo said, "We can only hope that Shaoling Yu won't think of our Sang clan." Sangji said optimistically, "Maybe not only will he not think of us, but he'll also take the initiative to join us because he hates the Yun clan." After entering the city, Shaoling Yu and the young woman quickly arrived in front of his house. This residence was his, so he could easily open the door. As soon as the door opened, his children came up to him, fighting to be hugged. Shaoling Yu restrained his killing intent and carried Xiao Ru and Xiao Yi in a friendly manner, slowly walking into the depths of the courtyard. "I really didn't know that you had such a warm family." As the young woman spoke, her face showed genuine envy. "It's not easy to raise such a big family," Shaoling Yu said helplessly. Anya and the other wives came out of their rooms and looked curiously at the young woman. "Let me introduce everyone. That's right, I haven't asked for fellow Taoist's name yet," Shaoling Yu said to the young woman. "Haha, my surname is Gu. You can call me Big Sister Gu." The young woman smiled amiably. "This Big Sister Gu is your husband's savior. She's come to our house as a guest today. Quickly prepare a table of dishes." Shaoling Yu waved his hand at the women. When the women heard this, they quickly bowed and thanked her. Their husband's savior was naturally their savior. They knew their husband very well and knew that their husband would never lie about such a big matter. "Our mothers call you Big Sister Gu, so we'll call you Aunt Gu," Xiao Hong said politely. "Okay." The young woman touched Xiao Hong's little head and nodded. "Aunt Gu, it's our first meeting. Aren't you going to give us a greeting gift?" Then Xiao Hong, who looked like a 5 or 6-year-old child, stretched out a small pink hand in front of the young woman. "I want one too, I want one too." The other children also responded one after another. "Nonsense." Shaoling Yu immediately stopped them. He used his father's pressure and said, "Who taught you to ask for things? Haha, they're all children. It's okay." The young woman didn't seem to mind at all. She took out a few exquisite-looking treasures and gave one to each of the 6 children. Shaoling Yu could see that those treasures weren't very high-quality goods, but they were unique in appearance and could even make children happy. Chapter 8:16. From a young woman's attitude towards his family. Shaoling Yu felt that this young woman who claimed to be Big Sister Gu was not kind-hearted, but at least she was not a malicious person. When a young woman faced Xiao Hong and the other 5 children, she couldn't even conceal her love and joy. She wasn't stingy at all and appeared to be extremely amiable, exuding the radiance of motherly love. Now that his family had been seen by this Big Sister Gu, he could only cooperate with her wholeheartedly in the future. Otherwise, if something happened to him, it would be a big problem if she took her anger out on his family. When the banquet was held to entertain Big Sister Gu, Ling Miling, the Devourer of Heaven, and Bing were all present. There were no outsiders at the moment, so Xiaoling Yu told everyone about Big Sister Gu's idea. Of course, in order to prevent everyone from worrying, he did not say Big Sister Gu's previous threatening words. This is a good thing. We can find the treasure, and Big Sister Gu can clear the obstacles for us. It's a seamless cooperation. As for the division of profits, Big Sister Gu is a strong person, so naturally, she should take the majority. Just give our family 20% or 30%. Miao Ying and the other girls talked about it, but they all had a happy expression. In fact, the girls were all very smart. When their husband spoke just now, he had vaguely pointed out the key points. Of course, they could only try their best to cooperate and agree. They did not dare to mess things up and make the relationship stiff. Big Sister Gu was naturally very satisfied with everyone's reaction. When we earn more yang crystals, we will change to a bigger house. Yes, we have a few more little guys now. This courtyard feels a little crowded. How big should it be? The bigger the better. It would be best if the entire Gourd City is our family's courtyard. You might as well say that the entire Gourd Island is our family's. Can't you all be a little bit more promising? Why can't it be the entire world of immortals? At this point, the girls remembered that there was a great expert beside them, and they all shut up awkwardly. Little sisters, you are all very interesting. Since ancient times, I'm afraid there hasn't been a single expert who dared to say that the entire world of immortals is their own courtyard. Big Sister Gu smiled knowingly. She felt that the atmosphere in this family was really good. As a woman, even though she was strong, she was still a woman. She had once dreamed of having a warm home, a family that she cared about, and a child of her own. It would be best if she had a husband who was like a hero. Big Sister Gu seemed to be touched by something. She suddenly stood up and walked out of the room alone. She stood in the middle of the yard and looked up at the black sky full of stars. No one disturbed her, but they could tell that she was a woman with a story. As for Big Sister Gu's story, it was not something that Xiaoling Yu and the others should consider. After the wives and friends tidied up, they returned to their rooms to meditate and cultivate. Xiaoling Yu went to the yard and stood in front of Big Sister Gu. He also looked up at the starry sky. As his cultivation improved, the connection between him and the starry sky in his dantian became clearer. At this moment, he was almost certain that the starry sky above his head should be the starry sky above his head. Say, why do some cultivators know that they are walking on a dead end, but they still rush forward like moths to a flame? Big Sister Gu suddenly asked. Maybe it's for their family, or for their best friends, or maybe it's because they have no other choice. Xiaoling Yu replied. The key is that no one forced him. He didn't do it for his family or friends, but for a faintly discernible legend. He went down the path of certain death for the sake of the so-called righteousness of the world. Isn't that a little stupid? When Big Sister Gu asked this, grief was clearly written on her face. The ancient starry sky road. Xiaoling Yu was too curious and couldn't help but ask. Big Sister Gu looked at Xiaoling Yu in surprise, but she quickly regained her composure and said, Since you've been to many places where treasures are hidden, you do have the chance to know about the ancient starry sky road. Everyone has different goals and beliefs in cultivation, so they often make different choices when they encounter certain situations. Take the cultivators in Gourd City, for example. Many of them stopped cultivating when they reached the immortal realm. They just peacefully enjoyed their endless lifespans and never caused trouble. Even if they were bullied, they would tolerate it. However, there are also cultivators from the Yun and Sang families who are still risking their lives to cultivate and become stronger, Xiaoling Yu said in a comforting manner. But I still don't understand. They know that it's a dead end, but they still don't look back. Is their own life really not important? Big Sister Gu shook her head and looked at the distant starry sky again. It was as if there was someone she missed day and night in the starry sky. Ordinary cultivators might think that their lives are the most important. After all, if they lose their lives, everything else is empty. However, for some cultivators, there are indeed things that are more important than their lives. Those things can't even be seen or touched, Xiaoling Yu explained after thinking for a while. In my opinion, they're stupid. They've worked so hard for countless years and finally reached the peak of perfection, but they still want to die. Isn't everything they've done in the past a waste of effort? Are they trying their best to improve their cultivation just to die a more glorious death on the path of certain death? Big Sister Gu's eyes were filled with tears as she lamented bitterly. Perhaps it was the warm situation of Xiaoling Yu's family today that touched the softness in the depths of her heart, causing some things that were buried deep in her heart to surface. Seeing Big Sister Gu reveal her true feelings, Xiaoling Yu felt more relieved. Big Sister Gu, I have to cultivate for a while before I can accompany you to search for treasures. Xiaoling Yu deliberately changed the topic. It's fine. I'll wait. Big Sister Gu waved her hand disinterestedly. Then, she said, do you need me to help you deal with the Yun and Sang clans? Xiaoling Yu pondered for a moment. Then she said, no need. They're just two small clans. Once I finish cultivating this time, there's nothing to be afraid of. Big Sister Gu reminded her. Perhaps there's nothing to be afraid of. However, those assassins you met when you entered the city might cause you some trouble. Xiaoling Yu was puzzled. They're all dead. What trouble can they cause? Big Sister Gu said, if I'm not wrong, they should be assassins from Heaven's Thorn. Heaven's Thorn might send more experts. Heaven's Thorn? With such a domineering name, this assassin organization shouldn't be weak, Xiaoling Yu said with a frown. Heaven's Thorn, as the name suggests, is the thorn of the heavens. It means that the target they assassinate is going to be assassinated by the heavens. There's no way for them to escape. Big Sister Gu explained first. Then, she said, however, Heaven's Thorn is just a group of fugitives from the outer seas of Gourd Bay. They've come up with a name to scare people. I've never heard of them successfully assassinating an extreme Star Realm expert. Do Heaven's Thorn's assassins dare to make a move in Gourd Bay? Xiaoling Yu asked. Of course they don't dare to make a move in the city. Gourd Bay doesn't look big, but it's the throat of Gourd Bay. If Heaven's Thorn makes a move in this city, even if the City Lord's mansion and the city guards can't do anything to them, the big powers behind Gourd Bay will make a move very quickly. They might even go to the outer seas and kill all of them. From what I know, Heaven's Thorn doesn't dare to provoke big powers. They also don't accept missions to assassinate people from big powers. Big Sister Gu said with certainty, Heaven's Thorn definitely won't risk offending the City Lord's mansion for you. You have to know that the big powers that control Gourd Bay also control Floating Cloud City. You just have to be careful when you leave the city. Hee, I don't leave the city easily. Once I leave the city, I'll follow Big Sister Gu, Xiaoling Yu said with a smile. After saying that, Xiaoling Yu went to the quiet room where she usually cultivated. She first set up layers of restrictions and formations in the quiet room. Then, she adjusted her breathing and meditated. Even with the help of healing pills, he used close to 100 years to recover. After adjusting his condition to the peak, he took out materials one by one and used the primal chaos nirvana true fire to process them. After all the preparation work was done, he put the materials in pills that needed to be applied on his body and swallowed them into his stomach. Then, he let his primal chaos nascent soul leave his body and spit out the primal chaos nirvana true fire to temper his entire body. In an instant, the primal chaos nirvana true fire enveloped Xiaoling Yu's entire body. It made Xiaoling Yu look like he was wrapped in a layer of silver-white fire cocoon. Pain was unavoidable. However, Xiaoling Yu was already used to this kind of pain. At least he had the willpower to persevere until the end. With the help of countless precious materials, he would consume an indestructible golden body elixir when he couldn't hold on any longer. He spent hundreds of millions of sun crystals just to temper his body this time. Naturally, there wouldn't be any accidents. After spending close to 1,300 years, he finally completed the tempering of his entire body. This tempering of his body was not like that of an ordinary cultivator in the body puppet realm. He only tempered his muscles and bones. He even tempered his heart and abdomen. After all, he had entered the primal chaos nirvana stage, and not the nirvana stage of an ordinary cultivator. This time, he used the body tempering technique to temper his body and not the body puppet technique. The body tempering technique would not help him temper his soul and primal chaos nascent soul. Moreover, he didn't dare to touch his soul and primal chaos nascent soul at the early stage of the primal chaos nirvana stage. After completing this step of cultivation, he had already reached the peak of the early stage of the primal chaos nirvana stage. He wasn't far from the middle stage. Big Sister Gu was playing with a few children in the courtyard at this moment. When she saw Xiao Lingyu come out, she dismissed the children and said, "Brother Xiao, although little sister Ling is born with the ability to find treasures, her cultivation is still too weak. If we let her search for those dangerous treasures, if she is unlucky, she might encounter an accident. I think we should help little sister Ling improve her strength first. It won't be too late to go treasure hunting later. But it won't be easy for her to improve. It's not something that can be solved with sun crystals, moon crystals, or demon beast life pearls." Xiao Lingyu nodded and said. Chapter 8:17. This time, he did not bring Myling out to sea. This was because Myling's most important task now was to use the astral pole magnet to cultivate to the astral extreme realm as soon as possible. The various resources that Xiao Lingyu brought back from Floating Cloud City, as well as the resources obtained from killing powerful enemies on the way back, were all left for Myling as long as they could be of use to him. As for his other wives, friends, and children, their cultivation levels were not high, so he naturally did not bring them along. It was better for them to stay in the courtyard in Gourd City and continue cultivating. Ling had to be brought along. She was the main character of this treasure hunt. As usual, they used the teleportation formation in the Awakening God Tower. After all, this could save them a lot of time and unnecessary trouble. Ever since Xiao Lingyu almost killed Yun Hai, who was in the physique realm, Lord Yu had already regarded Xiao Lingyu as a cultivator of the same level. When he saw Xiao Lingyu this time, he even felt that the aura that was faintly emanating from Xiao Lingyu's body made him feel a little threatened. This time, Lord Yu did not follow them because he could not see through Big Sister Gu's cultivation level. He did not want to risk his life with a cultivator that he did not trust who was stronger than him. The feeling of not having one's fate in one's own hands was what cultivators feared the most. After a brief moment of dizziness, the teleportation ended. Xiao Lingyu, Big Sister Gu, and Ling appeared in the sky above a certain sea region in the depths of Gourd Bay's inner sea. After identifying the direction, Big Sister Gu waved her sleeves and took out a magic treasure that looked like a round bowl. That magic treasure expanded with the wind. In an instant, it expanded by more than 100 times. Big Sister Gu took the lead and flew into it. Xiao Lingyu and Ling followed closely behind. After Big Sister Gu struck out a hand seal, the round bowl started to spin faster. At the same time, it flew towards Gourd Bay's outer sea. The strange thing was that the round bowl was clearly spinning rapidly, but Xiao Lingyu and the other two were not affected in the slightest. The speed of the round bowl was extremely fast, countless times faster than the ships that were sailing on the sea. It could cover a distance of several tens of thousands of miles in an instant. With such a fast speed, the scenery was blurred. The three of them sat down cross-legged and meditated, trying their best to adjust themselves to their best condition. 10 days later, the round bowl entered the vast sea outside Gourd Bay. The outer sea of Hulu Bay was only slightly larger than the inner sea. However, because it was deeper into the boundless ocean, the waves were stronger and there were fewer islands. The outer ocean was a lot more dangerous than the inner ocean, but that was only for cultivators below the Astral Extreme Realm. For Astral Extreme Realm cultivators, both the inner and outer oceans of the Gourd Bay were smooth sailing. It took another month for Big Sister Gu to reduce the speed of the round bowl. Then, she adjusted the direction of the round bowl. After flying for another 8 days, the round bowl landed on the shore of a large island. This island is called Starfall Island. It was formed by the fragments of the stars that fell from the sky and exploded. Big Sister Goo put away the round bowl magic treasure and introduced. Was Calabash Bay formed by 2 meteorites falling from the sky? Xiaoling Yu asked curiously. Although this legend has been lost for a long time, it should be true. Moreover, astral extreme realm cultivators do have the ability to move stars. Big Sister Goo nodded. I can already sense the existence of phantom spirits on this starfall island. Ling was suddenly narrowed her eyes and said, Of course. Why else would I bring you guys here? Big Sister Goo said, as if it was only natural. Then, she continued, Starfall Island came from the starry sky. It is said that there are phantom spirits living in the starry sky. The phantom spirits on this island should have descended together with that planet. However, these phantoms are too special. Although they aren't that powerful, even astral extremity experts would find it extremely difficult to truly exterminate them. Moreover, they are extremely good at concealing themselves. In addition, they have never attacked any cultivators passing by, nor have they gone to the Immortals' mainland to commit crimes. Thus, everyone ignores their existence and allows them to live on Starfall Island. Speaking until here, Big Sister Goo asked Ling again, Are you sure you could devour these phantom spirits? Ling nodded and said, As long as their cultivation is not too much higher than mine, and as long as the phantom spirits can't move quickly after being devoured. Big Sister Goo did not ask any more questions. She wrapped Xiaoling Yu and Ling with her power and flew towards the depths of Starfall Island at an extremely fast speed. The surface area of Starfall Island was not small. Even a powerful cultivator like Big Sister Goo could not cross it after flying for half an hour. On the other hand, the terrain of Starfall Island was mostly undulating mountains that were filled with weeds and tall trees. It looked lush and full of vitality. In the process of moving forward, Xiaoling Yu had already found traces of the phantom. These phantom spirits were all transparent and had all kinds of strange shapes. They were very vigilant. If there was even the slightest movement, they would immediately disappear or flee. After flying into the depths of the forest, Big Sister Goo stopped at the foot of a small mountain and said, Let's start here. I feel that there's something wrong with this Starfall Island. Linger frowned and said, all the cultivators who come here say that there is something wrong. However, this is nothing. For countless years, everyone has always felt that something is wrong with this place, but nothing out of the ordinary has ever happened. Big Sister Goo smiled indifferently. Other than the phantom spirits, I don't feel that there is anything wrong with this place. In fact, I vaguely feel that this place is suitable for me to stay for a long time. Xiaoling Yu said. When Big Sister Goo heard this, she narrowed her eyes and looked at Xiaoling Yu. She said, This is the first time I've heard of such a strange feeling from you. In the past, the cultivators who came here all felt that they had to leave immediately. It is the exact opposite of what you feel. Let's not talk about this for now. Let's start helping Ling devour the phantom spirits. Xiaoling Yu did not know why she felt so strange. Since she could not figure it out, she decided not to think about it. It was more important to get down to business first. Let's start with those in the immortal realm. Big Sister Goo nodded in response. Then she flew out. In an instant, she moved hundreds of feet away and arrived behind a large blue stone. Behind the blue stone, there was a phantom spirit secretly watching Xiaoling Yu and the others. It did not expect that it would become the target of the hunt. The phantom spirit subconsciously wanted to dodge. Unfortunately, a powerful aura had already sealed off a large area of the surrounding space. It felt that it could not move at all. She can't kill me anyway. The phantom spirit did not make any unnecessary resistance. Instead, it appeared very obedient. It even changed its face for Big Sister Goo to see. Indeed, after these phantom spirits were hit, their bodies would collapse. However, after a while, they would gather again. It was very difficult to truly kill them. Many phantom spirits were very weak, but they were so weak that they made people helpless. Truly killing a phantom spirit required a lot of energy and time. However, killing them did not benefit the cultivators in the slightest. Therefore, very few cultivators were willing to provoke these phantom spirits. Others dealt with the phantom spirits, but Ling happened to be the phantom spirit's nemesis. When she arrived next to the bluestone, the phantom spirit seemed to have sensed the danger and began to tremble all over. "Don't be so proud," Big Sister Goose snorted and said. Ling slightly opened her mouth. A suction force was applied to the phantom spirit. The phantom spirit was like a transparent smoke that was easily swallowed into her mouth. "This one is a bit weak," Ling said with dissatisfaction. "Let's find a weak one first. Let's see how fast you can refine it. Then, we'll find a stronger one." As Big Sister Goose spoke, her body flashed again. This time, she moved a full 1,000 feet away. In less than 3 months after coming to Starfall Island, Ling already had a cultivation base comparable to the 9th celestial layer of Longevity Realm. Moreover, she spent most of her time refining the phantom spirits that she had swallowed. There were countless phantom spirits on Starfall Island, but none of them had reached the celestial pinnacle realm. Therefore, this place posed no threat to Xiaoling Yu and the other two. They could freely capture those low-level phantom spirits. However, reaching the 9th celestial layer of Longevity Realm was naturally not enough to satisfy the three of them. Since they were already here, they had to directly raise Ling to the Nirvana Realm. Anyway, this promotion was just a process of swallowing and digesting. There was no danger or bottleneck at all. When Xiaoling Yu was in seclusion to temper her body, Big Sister Gu had already asked Ling to display her invisibility ability. Unfortunately, Ling invisibility technique, which could make Nirvana Realm experts unable to see through her, could not escape Big Sister Gu's eyes. In other words, Ling who was in the Longevity Realm, could not hide in front of Celestial Pinnacle Realm experts. Perhaps she could only do so when she reached the Nirvana Realm. The phantom spirits on Starfall Island might have heard that their nemesis had appeared on the island, so they all went into hiding. Especially the stronger Nirvana Realm phantom spirits. It was actually very difficult to discover them, especially when they used their divine sense to search. Fortunately, Ling strength had increased a lot, and her perception had also increased a lot. She could vaguely sense the approximate location of some Nirvana Realm phantom spirits. After Ling sensed it, she would point it out to Big Sister Gu. Then, Big Sister Gu would suddenly rush over and imprison the Nirvana Realm phantom spirit. Swallowing Nirvana Realm phantom spirits was also very simple, but the refining time was obviously much longer. After all, Ling was at the 9th celestial layer of Longevity Realm, so naturally, it would be more difficult for her to refine Nirvana Realm phantom spirits. When she reached the Nirvana Realm, this time should be shortened a lot. What a special existence. I've heard of many similar devouring methods to rapidly increase one's cultivation, but I've never heard of such an unscrupulous method without any risk or difficulty. After Ling devoured more than a dozen Nirvana Realm phantom spirits, Big Sister Gu couldn't help but let out a sigh of admiration when she released her aura to the nascent soul realm. It's not completely unscrupulous. At least, the devouring has to be done step by step. It can't be too big of a leap in cultivation, Ling said. Now that Ling was invisible again, Big Sister Gu could no longer detect her whereabouts. However, Big Sister Gu was still unsatisfied. Since it's already comparable to the nascent soul realm, why not just reach the true Nirvana Realm after the nascent soul realm? Xiaoling Yu and Ling also deeply agreed. In addition, they hadn't been out for long, so they continued to hunt. Chapter 8:18. After countless illusionary spirits gathered at the center of Starfall Island, they all entered a dark and narrow crack in the mountain. Although the crack was narrow, the stone walls on both sides were abnormally flat, as if they had been cut by a knife or an axe. Why do I feel that this place is dangerous? Big Sister Gu said with a frown. Indeed, Ling nodded. I feel like I can't wait to go in and take a look, Xiaoling Yu said doubtfully. Let me go in and take a look first, Linger suggested. All right, now that you're in the nascent nirvana realm, as long as you're careful, you shouldn't be in too much danger. Big Sister Gu nodded. Immediately, Ling Er's body flickered and disappeared before Xiao Lingyu and Big Sister Gu's eyes. About an hour later, Xiao Lingyu and Big Sister Gu, who were waiting outside the crack, suddenly felt the entire Starfall Island tremble. Then, a dangerous and mighty aura surged out from the crack in the mountain. Not to mention Xiao Lingyu, even an expert like Big Sister Gu was pushed back several hundred feet by the aura before she could stabilize her body. Fortunately, although the aura was fierce, it only lasted for a brief moment. Not good. Linger might be in danger. After Xiao Lingyu stabilized her body, she rushed into the crack in the mountain without any hesitation. Big Sister Gu hesitated for a moment before following closely behind. The crack in the mountain was very long, but it extended straight into the depths of Starfall Island. Xiao Lingyu and Big Sister Gu only used 20 breaths of time to reach the end of the crack in the mountain. A stone tablet that was no less than 3,000 feet tall, 3,000 feet wide, and 500 feet thick blocked Xiao Lingyu and Big Sister Gu's path. It gave off a heavy and oppressive feeling from afar. On the stone tablet, the words Nether Ancestor's Tomb were written. But what was different was that above the words on the tombstone was not an astral magnet, but an eyeball the size of a fist. Most of the eyeballs were white, but in the middle, there was a large spiral pupil surrounded by countless small circles. Oh no, that's the Netherworld Old Ancestor's Netherworld Heavenly Eye. Big Sister Gu only took one look and immediately cried out in alarm. Then, she pulled Xiao Lingyu and wanted to quickly escape. Unfortunately, at this moment, the tombstone suddenly trembled slightly, and an incomparably powerful aura instantly caught up to the two of them and enveloped their entire bodies. Before Xiao Lingyu could figure out what was going on, he felt his body being bound by an invisible force. Furthermore, that force was pulling him towards the tombstone. Even though they tried their best to resist, the force was too strong. Xiao Lingyu and Big Sister Gu could not break free from the force. When the two of them were only 3 feet away from the tombstone, their bodies suddenly and strangely disappeared at the same time. Xiao Lingyu only felt a flash in front of her eyes, and then she appeared in a void. Looking into the distance, it was a vast and boundless starry sky. Countless stars sparkled in the deep and dark void. It's over. It's all because we were too greedy. We actually fell into the Netherworld realm of the Netherworld Old Ancestor's Netherworld Heavenly Eye. Big Sister Gu said gloomily. So that's a heavenly eye. No wonder it could see through my invisibility. Ling suddenly revealed herself. This isn't a hopeless situation, right? Xiao Lingyu asked. For us, it is indeed a hopeless situation. Big Sister Gu then explained. When an ordinary extreme star realm expert cultivates an inner world space, most of them are in their own dantian. However, the Netherworld Old Ancestor is a genius. He actually cultivated an inner world space in his Netherworld Heavenly Eye. The experts of the world of immortals call it the Netherworld realm. Not only is the space pressure of the Netherworld realm stronger than the world of immortals, but the natural laws of heaven and earth are also set by the Netherworld Old Ancestor himself. If an ordinary cultivator is sucked into the Netherworld realm, they will only end up being trapped to death. Only if their strength is not weaker than or stronger than the Netherworld Old Ancestor can they use their various divine abilities to fight their way out. What was the Netherworld Old Ancestor's cultivation before? Xiao Lingyu asked curiously. The peak of the extreme star realm. He was one of the few experts in the world of immortals. Elder Sister Gu said in despair, with the strength and realm of the three of us, it is almost impossible to escape from the Nether realm. We are too far away from the Nether realm's old ancestor. But isn't the Netherworld Old Ancestor already dead? His tombstone is just outside. Linger said, Fortunately, he is dead. Otherwise, if we met him, he wouldn't need to use the Netherworld realm to trap us. He could kill us with just a breath. Big Sister Gu said with a wry smile. The netherworld heavenly eye should have sensed us and automatically activated its power. The netherworld realm might be very different from the original. After all, its master has been dead for many years. The netherworld realm shouldn't be as powerful as before. Xiao Lingyu calmly analyzed. So, as long as we can find a right way, we still have a chance to escape. Big Sister Gu nodded and said, maybe it's because you also have the heavenly eye divine ability. That's why you couldn't wait to enter the crack in the mountain. Your heavenly eye might be of great help to us. What I find strange is that those illusory spirit experts seem to have known about the existence of that tombstone a long time ago, but when they encountered danger, they all chose to hide here. Moreover, I saw them being pulled into the nether realm with my own eyes, but now they are all gone. Ling said with a frown. This should be the crux of the problem. Obviously, those phantom experts not only know about the existence of the netherworld realm, but also know the way to leave. But just because they know, it doesn't mean that we know too. Big Sister Goose said helplessly. Maybe I can find out. As Linger said, she opened her mouth slightly and spat out a transparent wave. The transparent wave then turned into a phantom, but it was very dull and motionless. After a long time, the phantom seemed to have recovered its consciousness. It looked around blankly at first, then slapped itself hard. Under the gaze of the three people, the phantom's body instantly collapsed and disappeared without a trace. I feel that it has left the netherworld realm. Ling narrowed her eyes and said, that phantom had been devoured and refined by her, so she could naturally sense the situation of that phantom. What special method did it use? Big Sister Gu asked. It's a method unique to phantom. Linger followed up and explained, the moment the phantom's body disintegrates, they completely lose all traces of life. Moreover, after they disintegrate, their strength will drop to the point where it is almost non-existent. It seems that they will be rejected by the space of the nether realm. They should have left like this. Do they have to self-destruct in order to leave? Xiao Lingyu's face was a little gloomy. The method that the phantom's leaving method is not suitable for us. We may be able to harden our hearts and let our bodies collapse, or even use some secret methods to reduce our cultivation to the lowest level in an instant. But after we leave, we can't recondense our bodies like the phantom. Big Sister Gu said with a bitter smile. The two of us can't do it, but Linger should be able to do it, right? Xiao Lingyu looked at Linger. Linger nodded and said, although I'm the phantom's nemesis and can devour phantom, in essence, I'm also a kind of phantom. I've devoured countless phantom, so I have all the magical powers and characteristics that they have. Then you go out first. It's better than all three of us being trapped here. Big Sister Gu said reasonably. If he doesn't go out, I won't go out alone. Linger said firmly. In her mind, she lived for Xiao Lingyu. She was not trying to stir up her emotions or curry favor at this moment. You silly sister, we're not asking you to go out first to escape alone. We're asking you to think of a way to save the two of us. Big Sister Gu persuaded with a smile. Linger's expression was still firm. You go out first. This nether realm isn't too dangerous. It can only trap us. You don't have to rush to save us after you get out. Make sure you're safe first. If you can't save us now, you can come back to save us when you're stronger in the future. Or you can ask other powerful cultivators to save us. Xiao Lingyu told Linger. Linger knew that the other powerful cultivators that Xiao Lingyu mentioned were definitely the howling celestial dog. Linger hesitated for the first time when she heard Xiao Lingyu's words. However, she still nodded after a moment. Under the gaze of Xiao Lingyu and Big Sister Gu, she dispersed her body and left the nether realm. On a beach on Starfall Island, the space suddenly fluctuated violently. Then, waves of invisible waves gathered in one place, and a delicate and beautiful woman appeared. This woman was naturally Linger, who had just escaped from the nether realm. She adjusted her body slightly and flew toward the center of Starfall Island. She arrived in front of the mountain crack and arrived next to the tombstone. She was once again swallowed into the nether realm by the nether heavenly eye. Naturally, she escaped from the nether realm using the illusion spirit secret technique again, This repeated dozens of times before Ling stopped. This was because her cultivation had dropped from the Nirvana Soul realm to the Nirvana Soul realm. It seemed that dispersing her body time and time again was a toll on her. The reason she didn't go in directly was because Xiaoling Yu scolded her after discovering that her cultivation had dropped. She told her to stop doing useless things. It's definitely impossible to attack the Nether Heavenly Eye by force. It's also extremely difficult to ask for help from experts. After all, the experts who can come in and fight their way out have all gone to the Ancient Star Path. Right now, there's only one way to save us, and that is to make the Nether Heavenly Eye recognize us as its master. The new master of the Nether Heavenly Eye can easily send us out. Big Sister Gu told Ling, this was the last time she entered the Nether Realm. Chapter 819. Xiaoling Yu was also a person with a heavenly eye, so she had some experience in how to make the heavenly eye recognize her as its master. After obtaining the heavenly eye of destruction, Xiaoling Yu first constantly poured energy into it to activate it, and then relied on the power of the primal chaos spectrum to withstand the bombardment of the bloody light of destruction without dying. Finally, she obtained the approval of the heavenly eye of destruction and made it her own divine ability. He passed on this experience to Linger, and perhaps Linger could use it as a reference. Now that the Netherworld heavenly eye could automatically activate its power, there was naturally no need for Linger to waste any effort to activate it. What Linger needed to do was to find a way to withstand the powerful, devouring power of the Netherworld heavenly eye. With Linger's current strength, if she could withstand the devouring power of the Netherworld heavenly eye, she would not be swept into the Nether realm again and again. If she couldn't do it herself, she could only rely on special magic treasures and divine abilities. However, Linger, who had always had a special physique, basically never had any magic treasures, let alone any divine abilities that could be used at this time. After coming out again, she looked worried. If she came back again when she was strong enough to withstand the devouring power of the Netherworld heavenly eye, who knew how many years she would have to wait? Linger was not so patient. She was more worried that Xiaoling Yu would have an accident in the Nether realm. Linger was guarding in the crack of the mountain 1,000 feet away from the tombstone and seemed to be in a dilemma. 1,000 feet was the limit of the Netherworld heavenly eye's perception. If she took half a step forward, the devouring power of the Netherworld heavenly eye would suddenly surge out, and 1,000 feet was safe. The phantom experts outside also had their eyes on Linger. Their peaceful life for many years was disturbed by the cultivators who came out of nowhere. Under the wanton hunting of these 3 cultivators, they suffered a lot of losses. Naturally, they hated those 3 cultivators very much. Now that 2 of the 3 powerful cultivators had not appeared for a long time, they could naturally guess that the 2 were trapped in the Nether realm. Right now, only one of the 3 foreign cultivators was left. She was also the one they hated and feared the most. They hesitated for a long time before gathering everyone again. They were prepared to kill the woman who had devoured many of their kind. A large number of illusory spirits of the Nirvana realm, along with countless illusory spirits of the Longevity realm, rushed in a mountain crack and gradually approached Ling-Er's location. Ling-Er was extremely sensitive to phantom. She knew that a large number of phantom experts were moving in this direction, but she was not afraid at all. Cheetahs were not afraid of rabbits, even if the rabbits were stronger than normal rabbits, even if there were a large group of them. When the group of phantom spirits approached, Ling-Er's body shook, and she transformed into her original state. She had turned into a strange-looking grass. Little grass constantly shook her body, as if she was in the middle of a gale, and an incomparably powerful suction force surged towards the group of illusory spirit experts who were pouncing over. Appearing in her original form, Ling-Er's strength had increased a lot, coupled with her Nirvana Soul Realm cultivation. As long as the illusory spirits were not at the Nirvana Soul Realm, they were bound by the suction force almost instantly and could not be stopped from approaching. The powerful aura surging from Ling Er's body made the illusory spirits tremble. The timid ones immediately chose to turn around and run away. Ling Er's helplessness and anger toward the netherworld heavenly, I finally found a place where she could vent. She chased after them in her original form. As a result, a strange and absurd scene appeared on Starfall Island, which the cultivators of Gourd Bay were unwilling to set foot on for countless years. A strange stalk of grass was chasing after a group of illusory spirit experts on the island, like a lion chasing after a group of antelopes. One by one, the illusory spirits were ruthlessly devoured by Ling. This made the illusory spirits on Starfall Island realize the crisis of survival. They took a detour and hid in the mountain crack. Ling also chased in. When a netherworld heavenly, I released a suction force to devour the group of illusory spirits hiding in it. She also did her best to release a suction force in her original form. The two suction forces acted on the illusory spirits at the same time, but their bodies still moved toward the netherworld heavenly eye. As the illusory spirits moved toward the netherworld heavenly eye, the suction force released by Ling unnaturally moved toward the netherworld heavenly eye. Boom! What Ling didn't expect was that the moment the suction force she released touched the netherworld heavenly eye, the tombstone suddenly exploded. Without the restraint of the tombstone, the netherworld heavenly I moved a few feet closer to Ling in the next moment. Previously, Ling was still 1,000 feet away from the netherworld heavenly eye, but now that the netherworld heavenly I suddenly moved a few feet closer. The netherworld heavenly I immediately sensed her and released a suction force. Ling didn't think too much. Knowing that she couldn't avoid it, she didn't stop her suction force and continued to release the suction force with all her strength. Ling and the netherworld heavenly I both rushed toward each other at the same time. At the moment when they were about to touch, Ling directly dispersed her own body. The netherworld heavenly I lost its target, so it immediately withdrew its suction force and calmed down. In the next moment, Ling body gradually gathered at the place where the netherworld heavenly I was, and the netherworld heavenly I was directly wrapped by her newly condensed body. The netherworld heavenly I and Ling merged into one just like that. Ling was very surprised that she didn't feel the netherworld heavenly eye's suction force on her again. In the next moment, a mist floated out of her body and slowly condensed into a red-haired old man in a red robe in front of her. The old man didn't look at Ling but looked at the top of her head and said, "This old man is the netherworld patriarch. I stepped onto the ancient starry sky path and had no choice but to die. I left the netherworld heavenly I behind to wait for the fated descendants." The old man's mouth was still opening and closing as he spoke. It was obvious that he hadn't finished speaking, but he couldn't make any sound. His shadow also quickly dissipated in front of Ling eyes. When the shadow of the netherworld patriarch completely disappeared, Ling suddenly felt a sharp pain between her eyebrows, and then she directly fainted. Fortunately, cultivators wouldn't come to Starfall Island to look for trouble, and the illusory spirits on the island were either devoured or were scared into hiding. Ling was unconscious for a whole 10 years without being disturbed. After waking up, she touched her eyebrows in shock and found that there was a vertical line between her eyebrows like her husband, Xiao Yu. She couldn't help but feel ecstatic because she realized that she had already obtained the netherworld heavenly eye. Perhaps it was because the netherworld heavenly eye was too miraculous, or perhaps it was because Ling had obtained it for too short a time, but her mind couldn't sink into the netherworld heavenly eye at all, and she couldn't control the netherworld heavenly eye to release Xiao Yu and Big Sister Gu, who were trapped inside. With an attitude of giving it a try, Ling almost used all the power stored in her body to open the netherworld heavenly eye. However, it only released a strong suction force, and nothing was released. After trying many methods, Ling had no choice but to give up on saving people for the time being. She first swept through Starfall Island again, and after devouring hundreds of Nirvana Realm illusory spirits, she reached the true Nirvana Realm after the nascent Soul Realm, and then she left Starfall Island alone. I'll go to some places where treasures are hidden and find a way to save my husband. Ling didn't directly return to Gourd City. Instead, she searched for treasures in the vast sea outside Gourd Bay. She also thought of going back first, but she really didn't know how to explain it to her sisters. It was better to save her husband and big sister Gu, and then they all went back together. Now, even if Ling encountered an astral realm expert, she could easily escape even if she couldn't win. Without Xiaoling Yu and big sister Gu to protect her, she was fine. The increase in strength and realm not only made Ling's concealment ability more powerful, but it also made her more sensitive to treasures. She could easily find treasures that she couldn't sense before. 3 years later, she found a treasure and obtained a few bottles of pills. 5 years later, she found a second treasure trove and obtained 2 magic treasures of decent quality. In the blink of an eye, more than 100 years had passed. Ling found nearly 30 treasure locations, and her harvest was naturally very rich. However, she still couldn't find a way to save Xiaoling Yu and big sister Gu. She had been trying to refine the netherworld heavenly eye that already belonged to her, but she hadn't made any progress. Ling wasn't too worried. She continued to search for treasures in the sea outside Gourd Bay. 130 years after she left Starfall Island, she suddenly sensed something and changed her original route. After flying above the sea for the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Ling was already close to a deserted island. The deserted island wasn't big. It was less than 20 miles long and wide. There were only a few mountains that occupied the entire island. What surprised Ling was that there were still cultivators on this deserted island. As soon as she landed on the top of a small mountain, 2 cultivators came up to greet her. These 2 cultivators were both in the Nirvana Soul realm. Perhaps because they couldn't see through Ling's cultivation, they walked up to her and politely cupped their fists. Then they said, "Fellow Taoist, may I know what business you have here?" Ling replied with a calm expression, "I don't need to report my business to you." The 2 cultivators frowned. However, one of them still said, "If fellow Taoist is going somewhere else, we naturally have no right to ask. However, this place is different. If fellow Taoist is just resting here, we can serve you tea. If you want to stay for a long time, I'm afraid it will be inconvenient." Linger asked, "What? This island is your private residence?" "More or less," one of the cultivators replied. "Okay, then I won't disturb you." Linger smiled. Then she jumped up and disappeared in a few moments. "Brother Wang, did you see through that girl's cultivation?" "Brother Liu, you saw through it?" "I didn't see through it. That's why I asked you." "I didn't see through it either." However, looking at the speed she flew away and her expression just now, her cultivation is most likely much higher than ours. So what if it's higher than ours? If she dares to stay here for long, Master will definitely make her stay here forever. We will have another sister-in-law. Oh. Chapter 820. Oomph, you're gossiping again. While the 2 cultivators were laughing, a woman with a graceful figure and an enchanting face approached them with a displeased expression. "Greetings, third madam." The 2 cultivators immediately stopped laughing and bowed respectfully. "The first master asked you to keep watch outside, but you're chatting here. If you delay the first master's important matter, you'll have to bear the consequences." The third madam said coldly, "Please rest assured, third madam, the 2 of us will do our best to fulfill the first master's orders. We won't dare to be careless." "Yes, yes, yes." The 2 cultivators nodded and bowed, speaking one after the other. In at most an hour, the door below will open. The first master has been operating in the outer sea of Gourd Bay for many years. "It's better for us to be more careful today," the third madam said. Of course, the 2 cultivators agreed. "One of you go to the east and the other to the west. Keep a close watch. If anything happens, I'll go and help." The third madam waved her hand and ordered. After the 2 cultivators obeyed and flew away, the third madam narrowed her eyes and looked around. Then she floated down and blocked the entrance of a cave that was only as tall as a person. At this moment, Ling or had already turned invisible and flew back to stand behind the third madam. It seems that this group of cultivators has already discovered that there are treasures here. There must be many experts in the depths of the cave. Ling pondered for a moment and then quietly walked into the depths of the cave. After carefully moving forward for about an hour, Ling arrived at the end of the winding cave and saw a wide iron door. In front of the iron door, there were more than 10 experts with cultivation bases above the level of Mantis. They surrounded the iron door and formed a strange fan-shaped array. At the top of the fan-shaped array, there was a black stone that emitted an evil aura. The power of the array, formed by more than 10 experts, all struck the black stone, causing waves of black fog to continuously surge out. Under the control of the formation, the black fog continuously drilled into the gap of the iron gate. The black mist should have an extremely strong corrosive power. After it entered the door, the iron surface of the door would emit a sizzling sound. When Linger arrived, the gap in the door was already 1 foot wide. If it was a little wider, it would allow one person to pass through. Of course, for cultivators, even if it was half a foot wide, they would still be able to squeeze through. However, this iron gate was clearly not ordinary, so these cultivators did not dare to force their way through. When the black stone shrunk by half again, the great iron gate suddenly trembled, and a huge force surged out at the same time. In an instant, the formation formed by the group of cultivators was broken, and the few cultivators were all sent flying. Other than the leader, the rest of the cultivators were all pale, and blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. Linger was quite a distance away from the iron gate, so the force did not affect her much. The large iron gate trembled violently before slowly opening, revealing a door that was over 10 feet wide. Congratulations, First Master. You finally succeeded. After obtaining the treasures inside, Great Master will definitely be like a tiger that has grown wings and reached the peak of perfection in the world of immortals. After 100 million years of hard work, the hard times are over and the good times are coming. All of our efforts were not in vain. Looking at the iron gate that had already opened, the group of cultivators appeared to be gratified and happy. Everyone, please stand guard outside for me. When I obtain the treasures inside, everyone will have a share. A cultivator who seemed to be middle-aged with a tall and sturdy figure waved his hand to stop everyone from laughing. Then, he said, "We have already reached the final step, so we must not make any mistakes or negligence. There is no danger inside, but we need to be careful outside. I hope everyone can help me guard the final step. Great Master, you can rest assured. As long as we are here, no other cultivators will disturb Great Master from obtaining the treasures. We will do our best." All the cultivators responded in unison, and all of them had an incomparably loyal appearance. The Great Master smiled with satisfaction. Then, he turned around and passed through the door, disappearing from everyone's sight. The remaining cultivators glanced at each other and began to walk with their mysterious footwork, as if they were going to form another formation. Naturally, Linger had already followed the First Master into the room. Behind the large iron gate, there was actually nothing strange about it. It was the scene of a small karst cave. There was a small pool in the karst cave, but the water in the pool was light green and looked very shallow. In the middle of the pool, there was also a lotus platform. However, what Linger didn't expect was that this karst cave was actually incomparably cold. It was actually able to freeze her, who was hiding her figure, into a woman's silhouette. The Great Master seemed to have already prepared for this. When he entered, his entire body was already enveloped in a layer of flame. That layer of flame helped him temporarily block the freezing aura. The Great Master, who was very cautious, saw Linger's silhouette. He let out a strange cry, and then he slapped his palm over. The woman's frozen silhouette was mercilessly shattered. However, the Great Master's palm slapped in empty space, as if he had slapped a thin layer of ice. The Great Master carefully observed his surroundings, but he didn't find anything. He didn't dawdle any longer and immediately leaped toward the lotus platform in the middle of the pool. However, just as he moved, a nebula fog appeared out of nowhere. In an instant, it filled the entire cave. Under the nebula fog, the great master found that his divine consciousness and vision were all blurred. After all, this cave wasn't very big. He could determine the position of the lotus platform based on his previous senses. However, just as he flew to the position he sensed, he was hit on the side by a palm. The power of that palm wasn't very strong. It couldn't hurt him, but it was enough to send his body flying. "Who's causing trouble here?" The great master roared angrily. In the next moment, he released his aura with all his might. The nebula fog was swept away by his aura. However, at this moment, not only the lotus platform, but even the pool of light green liquid had disappeared. "Guard the iron gate." The great master's berserk aura wreaked havoc in the entire cave. The cultivators outside had heard the commotion inside long ago. However, they all thought that it was the great master who had created the commotion by taking out the treasure. Now that they heard the great master shout, they became nervous. The lotus platform and the pool of light green liquid were naturally swallowed by Linger first. She then rushed toward the iron gate, wanting to leave as soon as possible. However, the dozen or so cultivators had already formed a formation outside the iron gate. As soon as she came out, a huge force wrapped around her like a huge net. Not only did it reduce her speed to the minimum, it also exposed her body. The great master also came out of the cave. Naturally, the formation wouldn't restrict him. He saw Linger's position and rushed over with a ferocious expression. This great master was an astral reaching realm expert. In addition, he had a dozen or so Nirvana realm experts helping him. Linger was trapped in a special formation. She was obviously in danger. At this critical moment, she remembered her heavenly eye technique. Therefore, she didn't dodge the great master's attack. Instead, she waited for the great master to come closer and opened her heavenly eye. Not good. As an astral reaching realm expert, the great master naturally knew the power of the heavenly eye. However, he was too angry just now. His hand gestures were like thunder. Even if he wanted to stop now, it would be hard for him to do so. Moreover, there was a powerful, devouring power on his body. Without any surprise, the great master was sucked into the nether realm. Linger suddenly felt some regret. She had sent an astral-reaching realm expert into the nether realm. If Shaoling Yu and Big Sister Gu couldn't beat this guy, wouldn't she have invited a wolf into the house? The nether heavenly eye's powerful devouring power not only swallowed the great master, but also destroyed the formation. Linger didn't regret anything. She immediately rushed out. After all, she was a true Nirvana realm expert. Her strength was only below the astral reaching realm. Those cultivators who hadn't even reached the astral reaching realm naturally couldn't stop her. At this moment, the third madam was still blocking the entrance of the cave. Suddenly, she felt a powerful aura rushing at her from behind. She was shocked. Just as she turned around, she saw a stunning woman less than 30 meters away from her. Before she could react, a nebula-like mist surged toward her. Then, she felt the world spin, and her body was swept away by the mist and sent flying far away. Linger quickly flew to the sky above the deserted island. Then, she turned invisible and flew into the distance at a leisurely pace. Linger was safe. However, Shaoling Yu and Big Sister Gu met with an accident in the nether realm. After the great master was swallowed into the nether realm, he wasn't far from Shaoling Yu and Big Sister Gu. When the two sides met, they both retreated a certain distance. Their faces were filled with vigilance. "You two must have been trapped here by that witch's heavenly eye technique, right?" the great master said matter-of-factly. "Yes." Shaoling Yu was about to speak when Big Sister Gu spoke first. "In that case, we can be considered the enemy of the enemy. We can barely be considered friends." The great master saw that Big Sister Gu's cultivation wasn't low, so he wanted to rope her in. He had no intention of fighting here. "You can say that." Big Sister Gu nodded. "Then, do you two know where this is? Is there a way to leave?" The great master asked anxiously. "This is the nether realm. After being sucked in, there is only one way to leave. That is to lose your vitality and cultivation. Big Sister Goo was telling the truth. When the great master heard this, his face immediately darkened to the extreme. After pondering for a long time, the great master asked again, "Are you sure this is the Nether Realm? The Nether Realm that belongs to the Nether Realm ancestor? Since you know about the Nether Realm ancestor's Nether Realm, you should know that I'm not lying." Big Sister Goo said indifferently, "If it's really the Nether Realm, perhaps I have a way to get out. Of course, I'll need your help." The great master explained, "Now that the Nether Heavenly Eye is no longer with the Nether Realm ancestor, it proves that the Nether Realm ancestor has died on the ancient star path. This Nether Realm is definitely not as powerful as it used to be. I know a secret technique that can get us out of this hopeless situation. Although the price is higher, it's better than being trapped here forever." Chapter 821. Xiaoling Yu and Big Sister Goo were astute people. Naturally, they could guess that the Netherworld Heavenly Eye had already been obtained by Ling Er. And this middle-aged astral realm expert who had just been devoured was definitely Ling Er's enemy. The demonic woman he spoke of was definitely Ling Er. Ling Er's enemy was naturally also the enemy of Xiaoling Yu and Big Sister Goo. However, this middle-aged cultivator didn't know that Xiaoling Yu and Big Sister Goo were actually Ling Er's relatives. He thought that Xiaoling Yu and Big Sister Goo had also been trapped in the Nether Realm by Ling Er using the Netherworld Heavenly Eye. Big Sister Goo, who also didn't want to fight to the death with an astral realm expert in the Nether Realm, was also happy to beat him at his own game. I have to inform the two of you first. If I use that secret technique of mine, after we go out, we will be in an extremely weak state. After we go out, we will immediately face that demonic woman. So, the two of you must promise me that after we go out, we will work together and deal with that demonic woman first. How about it?" The great master asked. "Of course. We've been trapped here by that demonic woman for a long time. We have long wanted to go out and kill her." Big Sister Goo nodded, her face full of sincerity. "This secret technique is very easy to use, but we need to wait for an opportunity. We need to wait for that demonic woman to stop moving around outside. Moreover, we need to wait for a period of time in between." The great master first explained, then sat cross-legged in the void. He began to chant an awkward incantation, and set of hand seals flew out from his 10 fingers. Perhaps because he was worried about Xiaoling Yu and Big Sister Goo, when the great master was casting the secret technique, he didn't let down his guard at all. After Ling Er left the deserted island, she kept flying. During this time, she also took out the lotus seed, which was obviously of high quality, and examined it. Unfortunately, her knowledge wasn't wide enough. She couldn't tell what kind of treasure this lotus seed was, and couldn't make it recognize her as its master. As for the light green liquid, she felt that it was fragrant and enticing. At the same time, it was also cold. She didn't dare to casually drink a mouthful of such a special liquid. Ordinary treasures, pills, and materials were basically useless to Ling Er, who had a special physique. After wandering around the Gourd Bay for more than 100 years and obtaining many treasures, Ling Er finally found an ancient tome. Its contents were all about the various heavenly eyes and abilities, and not only did it introduce the Netherworld Heavenly Eye, but there were also detailed descriptions of the other heavenly eyes. And Heavenly Eye, it had heavenly eyes, and the heavenly eyes. And heavenly eyes. One heavenly eyes. Heavenly eyes. Eyes. I heavenly only eye. In this way, it was almost impossible for Ling Er to completely master the Netherworld Heavenly Eye in a short period of time. She also had to wait for some time before she could release Xiaoling Yu and Big Sister Goo. Ling Er, who was worried about her sisters in Gourd City, decided to go back and take a look. Her sisters and children had the right to know how their husbands and fathers were doing. After searching for treasures, Ling Er spent another 50 years before she once again set foot on Gourd Island. After leaving for 300 years, Gourd Island and Gourd City hadn't changed much. Ling Er was expressionless as she walked through the north gate. However, after entering Gourd City, Ling Er felt that the atmosphere in the city was a bit different. The city guards, who were usually listless and rarely seen, were not only everywhere, but they all had cold and serious expressions on their faces. It seemed like something big had either happened or was about to happen. Ling Er quickly walked towards the courtyard. She never expected that her courtyard would be surrounded by hundreds of city guards. The city guards all had their backs to the courtyard and stared at the passers-by with sharp eyes. They didn't allow unrelated cultivators to come within 1,000 feet of the courtyard. Halt! This place has been listed as a key protected area by the City Lord Manor. Please take a detour. When Ling Er approached, a city guard in the realm of physique stepped forward and waved his hand. Ling Er frowned and said, "I also belong to this courtyard." "Oh, then please wait a moment." The city guard glanced at Ling Er again, then turned around and knocked on the courtyard's door. Miling walked out of the courtyard. After glancing at Ling Er, he immediately went up to her. Without saying much, Miling brought Ling Er into the courtyard. After closing the door, he asked, "Where are Brother Xiao and Big Sister Gu?" "They're trapped in a special place." At this time, the other relatives and friends also came up to them. Ling Er explained the situation in detail to everyone. After hearing Ling Er's words, everyone's anxious expressions became even more gloomy. "What happened?" Ling Er asked. "Not long after you left, our house was attacked repeatedly. Several groups of experts came. If it wasn't for Big Sister Gu's help in strengthening the formations and restrictions in the courtyard, and if it weren't for the timely arrival of the city guards, I'm afraid we would have met with misfortune." And you said, "Is everyone all right?" Ling Er asked with a frown. "Miaoying and Qing Xian were injured. They are both recuperating. Fortunately, the children were not hurt at all," Miling replied. "We are fine, but the city guards have suffered great losses. In those few attacks, at least 30 city guards were killed." The city lord's mansion and the city guards are very angry, which is why there is such a large formation outside the courtyard. Anya continued, "Even so, the other party still sent a large group of assassins last night." "Who did it?" Ling Er asked with narrowed eyes. "I don't know. The city guards are investigating, but those assassins didn't leave behind any evidence," Miling said with a shake of his head. "Who else could it be other than the Yun family?" Ling Er sneered. "The Yun family is the most suspicious, but they don't have the power and courage to do so," Miling replied. Mi Ling replied, "Last time, those assassins at the city gate were actually hired by the Sang family. Their purpose was to make us feel threatened and join the Sang family. The Sang family has their eyes on Brother Zhao's great strength and future. In that case, the Sang family is also suspicious," Ling Er said indifferently. Without wasting any more words, Ling Er first went to check on Miaoying and Qing Xian. Seeing that these two close sisters of hers were both pale and heavily injured, Ling Er actually revealed a cold smile. Ling Er's smile clearly contained a bit of killing intent. "Sister-in-law Ling Er, don't be rash. Right now, the enemy is very powerful. It's better to wait until Brother Xiao and Big Sister Gu are released before making any plans." Miling saw that Ling Er's expression was not right, so he advised her. Could it be that we have to rely on our husband to survive in the world of immortals?" Ling Er replied with a smile. Then, she actually ignored the advice of her relatives and resolutely left the courtyard. After leaving, Ling Er immediately turned invisible. Less than 2 hours after Ling Er left, the sounds of fighting and miserable screams came from the Yun family's courtyard. Like a ghost, Ling Er killed her way into the Yun family. Every time she appeared, there would be a Yun family member lying down. As a result, after a Yun family member died, Ling Er would immediately turn invisible. No one would be able to see through her invisibility. The Yun family's patriarch was only at the Nirvana Soul Realm. Even if the Yun family hid a Nirvana Soul Realm expert, he was not worth mentioning in front of Ling Er. When the Yun family was attacked, the city guards and the city lord's mansion also sent out experts. However, even though the city guard commander and the city lord came along with hundreds of city guards, they still couldn't stop the Yun family from being massacred. The Yun family that had been powerful for countless years on Gourd Island also felt despair. At such a critical moment, the Yun family members that were still alive all chose to escape from the Yun family. Then, they panicked like stray dogs. In less than 4 hours, the mighty Yun family, which was a colossus in the eyes of the cultivators on Gourd Island, was destroyed just like that. All the Yun family members that didn't choose to leave the Yun family, including the Yun family patriarch, were turned into corpses. The city lord and the city guard commander were both true Nirvana realm experts, but they could only occasionally see the shadows of the culprits. They couldn't track them down, let alone lock onto them. The furious Ling only used 4 hours to uproot the Yun family, turning the Yun family's courtyard into a graveyard. However, this was not the end. She then went directly to the Sang family. However, the city lord's mansion reacted quickly. After Ling killed dozens of Sang family members, Myling, Anya, and other friends of family members were invited to the Sang family. Under Myling and Anya's persuasion, Ling who had already vented much of her anger on the Yun family, finally stopped. However, just as Ling stopped, the city lord of Gourd Island suddenly threw out a talisman. Ling was talking to Anya and was caught off guard. Normal attacks were useless against Ling but when the talisman exploded on her body, it suddenly formed a mist that enveloped her. The mist surged and quickly gathered. When the mist completely disappeared, Ling turned into a female stone statue. The stone statue didn't look very impressive, but it trapped Ling inside. An invisible force bound her body tightly, making it impossible for her to move at all. City Lord, what is the meaning of this? Myling immediately asked. What is the meaning of this? She committed a massacre in the city, ignoring the rules of the city and the city lord's mansion. Am I supposed to pretend that I didn't see anything? The city lord said coldly. But if we didn't come just now, would you have been able to trap her? Anya was also very angry. On behalf of all the cultivators in the city, I thank the two of you for your righteousness. We will not implicate you in her crimes and will continue to strengthen the protection of your houses. The city lord said with a smile. Anya was so angry that she was about to attack, but Myling pulled her back. Sister-in-law Ling is special. The city lord's mansion and the city guards can't do anything to her. Even if they can trap her, they can't effectively kill her, Myling transmitted to Anya. Anya thought about it and felt that Myling's words made sense. However, she still asked, City Lord, how do you plan to deal with her? Chapter 822. In front of the gate of the Shisong family's mansion, there was a large square with a statue of a woman. Through the explanation from the mayor's mansion, everyone knew that the woman who had turned into a statue was the powerful warrior who had just turned the Yun family into a graveyard. Even if she could annihilate the Yun family by herself, she would not be able to escape the pursuit of the city lord's mansion. This was something that everyone knew. What everyone did not know was that the reason this female expert was captured here was because of the city lord's sneak attack. In order to protect the city's law and the inviolable image of the mayor's mansion, the mayor decided to kill this powerful warrior in public. After hearing the news, all the cultivators in the city gathered around. The city lord's mansion and the city guards had mobilized almost all of their experts. They had even invited the Sang clan and the Nirvana realm experts in the city. They surrounded the statue and set up an extremely powerful sealing formation. The mayor confidently said that unless it was an extreme astral realm warrior, there would only be death in this formation. Myling and Anya were worried that their friends and family would lose their minds because of this, so they did not spread the news to the mansion. They only watched nervously and helplessly. Right now, Myling had only just reached the Nirvana Heart Realm, and Anya was only at the peak of the immortal Ninth Celestial Layer. Even with all the friends and family in the mansion, if everyone attacked together, it would only be suicide. It would be impossible to save Ling in front of so many powerful warriors. Could it be that they could only watch as Ling was killed by the sealing formation? Myling and Anya were filled with regret. If they had not come to persuade Ling how could she have stopped? How could the mayor's sneak attack succeed? It could be said that if something happened to Ling, Myling and Anya would have to take full responsibility. Even if no one came to blame them, they would still be tormented by guilt and regret. Sooner or later, they would die under the attack of the Heart's Devil. After preparing for almost 3 days, the mayor personally took charge of the formation. Under his lead and command, all the powerful warriors began to chant spells and form hand signs. Suddenly, waves of powerful aura began to be released. The sound of thunder shook the sky, and the entire gourd city began to tremble. Boom! A clap of thunder boomed. Then, everyone saw a dazzling white bolt of lightning descend from the ninth heaven. It meandered like a dragon, bringing with it an incomparably ferocious aura of destruction as it ruthlessly slammed into the stone statue. The stone statue did not explode, but the lightning arc sank into the statue in an instant. The statue trembled for a moment, then stood firmly in the square, without the slightest bit of damage. From the looks of it, the lightning bolt from earlier had penetrated the incomparably sturdy stone layer and directly affected its interior. Following which, lightning bolts continuously descended from the 9 heavens, and all of them ferociously drilled into the stone sculpture. After a full 4 hours of bombardment, the stone sculpture was not damaged at all. However, it was unknown whether the female expert trapped inside was still alive or not. Everyone did not know, but the mayor was very clear that the woman inside the stone sculpture had not been killed. The mayor was very surprised. He knew the power of this formation. After 4 hours of continuous bombardment, even Extreme Star Realm warriors would be severely injured inside. Cultivators below Extreme Star Realm would definitely not be able to survive. However, right now, so many Nirvana Realm warriors had used up a lot of their energy and could not continue for long. Yet, the target of the bombardment was still alive. This made him a bit unsure of how to proceed. Let's stop here for today. Let us rest for a while, and then we will reactivate the formation. The mayor waved his sleeve and said. The meddlesome cultivators did not leave. They still surrounded the square, and the powerful warriors in charge of operating the formation all sat cross-legged to recover their energy. Before the city lord sat down to meditate, he took out a bead. His mouth trembled a few times before he put it away. After nearly half a month's time, everyone finally recovered. Under the mayor's control, the formation bombarded the stone sculpture for another 4 hours, but still, the woman inside the stone sculpture was not killed. They once again sat down to rest and recover. However, before everyone could fully recover, a cultivator wearing a brocade belt, embroidered robes, and 7 stars boots suddenly descended from the sky, landing beside the mayor. What was strange was that this cultivator who did not go through the city gate and flew down from the sky looked extremely young. However, the mayor immediately bowed when he saw him, with an incomparably respectful appearance. After the mayor and the young cultivator exchanged a few words, the young cultivator circled around the stone sculpture a few times, and then returned to the mayor's side, saying, "The trapped woman is definitely not ordinary. If she hasn't reached Extreme Star Realm, perhaps I can arrange a formation to destroy her. Then I'll have to trouble you, Martial Uncle." The mayor bowed again. The young Martial Uncle nodded, and then began to arrange the formation around the stone sculpture. The formation was quickly arranged, and the young Martial Uncle ordered all the Nirvana Realm cultivators to enter the formation again to occupy their positions, and taught them the corresponding techniques and incantations. Once everyone was in position, he let out a soft shout and activated the spirit formation he had set up. However, just as the formation exploded with a series of rumbles and was about to display its power, the stone sculpture suddenly exploded. Pieces of stone flew in all directions, immediately killing half of the surrounding Nirvana Realm cultivators, and the other half retreated with heavy injuries. How is this possible? The mayor was very surprised. The young Martial Uncle also narrowed his eyes, and his expression was very doubtful. He knew what kind of magic the stone sculpture was formed from, and he also knew that no cultivator under Extreme Star Realm could break it open. After the stone sculpture collapsed, there were 4 cultivators standing where the stone sculpture had been. Ling who had previously slaughtered the Yun family, was among them. As for the other 3, they were Xiaoling Yu, Big Sister Gu, and the First Master. They had just used a secret technique to escape from the Nether Realm. The 4 of them first looked at the situation around them. Before the mayor and the young martial uncle could make a move, Xiaoling Yu and Big Sister Gu had already taken the initiative to attack the First Master, who was very close to them and was about to attack Ling The distance was too close, and the First Master was caught off guard. Xiaoling Yu's destructive bloodlight and Big Sister Gu's full-strength palm both directly hit the First Master. The First Master didn't even understand the situation, and he lost his life. After using the secret technique, the First Master was very weak like Xiaoling Yu and Big Sister Gu. In addition, he didn't have time to defend himself, so it wasn't surprising that he lost his life. He could only blame himself for underestimating the situation. The sudden change in the plaza caused the surrounding cultivators to be incomparably shocked, but they still chose to temporarily retreat. Martial uncle, this. The mayor was at a loss. The young martial uncle walked over with narrowed eyes, but shook his fist at Big Sister Gu and said in a strange tone, "Sister-in-law, I didn't expect to see you here." Big Sister Gu calmly glanced at the young martial uncle and said, "Emo-chi, you've already parted ways with my husband, so you don't have to call me sister-in-law anymore. It's more appropriate for us to address each other as fellow Taoist." Emo-chi smiled and said, "Sister-in-law, you're wrong. In my heart, you'll always be my sister-in-law." Big Sister Gu sneered and said, "You don't even acknowledge Big Brother, and you still pretend to acknowledge me as your sister-in-law. I'm not as easy to deceive as my husband." Emo-chi shook his head helplessly and said, "It seems that sister-in-law's misunderstanding of us is still so deep. However, your sudden appearance today really gave me a fright." Big Sister Gu's expression didn't change. She asked, "What's the situation here?" Emo-chi pointed at Ling and said, "She just caused a bloody massacre in Gourd City, uprooting the old Yin family. I was just about to execute a spell to exterminate her as a warning to others." Big Sister Gu frowned and said, "She's my friend." This Emo-chi looked like he was in a difficult position at first, but then he laughed heartily and said, "Since it's Big Sister Gu's friend, this little brother naturally has to give Big Sister face. Big Sister, how do you think this matter should be handled?" Big Sister Gu said disdainfully, "It's just a small, insignificant family. If they're exterminated, so be it. What's the fuss about?" Emo-chi shook his head and said, "Big Sister, that's not right. Although they're just a small family, they're still in our Gourd City. They abide by the city's rules and have always paid taxes in full. They should be protected by us. They're being exterminated right here in Gourd City. If we don't do anything, won't our citizens be bitterly disappointed?" Big Sister Gu looked at Ling then shrugged at Emo-chi and said, "Then I won't interfere in this matter. If you have the ability, then capture and kill her." As soon as Big Sister Gu finished speaking, Ling body disappeared into thin air. Emo-chi's expression immediately darkened. Although he had been in the Extreme Star Realm for many years, he still couldn't find Ling hiding place with his divine sense. In other words, the culprit that Emo-chi had just said he wanted to exterminate had slipped away right under his nose. The main culprit might be able to escape, but the accomplice cannot be let go. Emo-chi said hatefully, "Who's the accomplice?" Xiaoling Yu couldn't help but ask. Of course it's her friends and family. Although they didn't participate in the massacre of the Yun family cultivators, they must have been part of the plan, Emo-chi said with certainty. Truly, if you want to condemn someone, you can easily find a pretext. Could it be that Sir wants to use this groundless crime to arrest and convict them? Xiaoling Yu asked. Big Sister Gu, could this person be your friend as well? Emo-chi asked Big Sister Gu. Yes. Big Sister Gu nodded and said. Seems like he's also the culprit's accomplice. Emo-chi said. The way you do things now seems to be even more overbearing than before, Big Sister Gu said with a hint of mockery. Big Sister Gu, you suddenly came here today and broke the seal on the culprit, saving the culprit. You seem to be even more overbearing than me, Emochi replied. Chapter 823. Emochi's expression changed again and again. It was obvious that his mind was racing. A moment later, he smiled and said, "Since big sister-in-law wants evidence, then I'll investigate this matter thoroughly before deciding on the punishment." Big Sister Gu replied, "That would be for the best." Emochi glanced at Shaoling Yu again, then turned around and led the city lord and the grand commander of the city guards to the city lord's manor. Big Sister Gu and Shaoling Yu first met up with Myling and Anya, then returned to the residence in the northern part of the city. "This is the storage treasure of the person we just killed. Take it." When they reached the entrance of the residence, Big Sister Gu took out a storage ring. It was all thanks to Big Sister's powerful methods that we were able to kill that guy. Everything we obtained should belong to Big Sister. This time, we still have to thank Big Sister for speaking up for us. Otherwise, our family would probably have suffered a calamity, Shaoling Yu said sincerely. Big Sister Gu put the storage ring away and said, "I'm afraid that there will be quite a bit of trouble waiting for us. Emochi might not give me face. He only saw that I was protecting you, and he was completely confident that he could defeat me easily. That's why we'll put this matter aside for now." "Then what should we do?" Shaoling Yu asked. "You must leave Gourd City before Emochi's helpers arrive," Big Sister Gu replied. "But they've already sealed off the entire city." "How can we leave?" Anya said. "Teleport away from the Awakening Tower," Myling said. "I'm afraid the Lord Steward won't agree. After all, if we leave the Awakening Tower, the Lord Steward will probably be held accountable," Shaoling Yu said worriedly. "That's true." Myling nodded. The mansion was still surrounded by a large number of city guards, but they did not stop Shaoling Yu and the others. After they entered the courtyard, Shaoling Yu and Big Sister Gu first looked at Miao Ying and Xuan's injuries, and then Shaoling Yu said, "This matter shouldn't have been done by the Yun clan. After all, the Yun clan only has a few Nirvana realm cultivators, and they only have that little bit of wealth. They simply don't have the courage and capital to be so arrogant. It's not the Yun clan, and it's definitely not the Sang clan either. It's possible that it's the Heaven's Thorn. They have the strength and confidence to do so. However, aren't they afraid that the City Lord's manor will send experts to eliminate them?" Big Sister Gu asked doubtfully. "Is it possible that it was done by cultivators from Blackwind Stockade?" Shaoling Yu asked again. "After all, the Blackwind Stockade is not an assassin organization. Although the Blackwind Old Monster is very strong, his temperament is much more low-key than his nickname. Moreover, if the Blackwind Old Monster wanted to make a move, he could have directly entered the city without anyone noticing. This mansion won't be able to stop him. Most importantly, the Blackwind Old Monster is not someone who kills indiscriminately. Even if he wanted to take revenge, he would have directly come for you. He wouldn't touch your family members whose cultivation is still weak. After all, experts often have their own principles." Big Sister Gu shook her head. "AI, who knows where Ling Er is hiding now?" Shaoling Yu sighed. Little Sister Ling Er was too impulsive. She actually wiped out the entire family in the city. If the City Lord's manor doesn't do anything to hunt her down, it wouldn't be justifiable. Big Sister Gu smiled bitterly. Even if the attack on the mansion wasn't done by the Yun family, they would have plotted against us sooner or later. Ling Er should have wiped them out. Jiang Lanchong said hatefully. "There are many ways to wipe out the Yun family. There's really no need to be so direct." Big Sister Gu continued. At this moment, the manager of the Awakening Tower suddenly arrived. Previously, when something happened here, Lord Yu often came to visit. He even stayed here and fought with Myling against strong enemies. It was clear that he was a very loyal person. "I just received a transfer order from the higher-ups. I'm being transferred to another city's manager. Also, the higher-ups have already sent a colleague to take over the Awakening Tower here," Lord Yu said. "It seems that Emochi already knows that you two are close, so he must have contacted the higher-ups of the Awakening Tower." Big Sister Gu guessed. "That's not the case. Actually, they've already informed me of my transfer. However, it was only an intention in the past. They didn't give me a choice, so it was delayed again and again. Coincidentally, The new manager sent by the higher-ups just arrived in Gourd City today. That's why they sent me a message. Lord Yu shook his head and explained. Then it's a coincidence. Xiao Yu responded, then said, Emochi might not make things too difficult for us, but if his helpers arrive, he'll definitely trap us in Gourd City forever. He might even imprison us and wait for Ling to deliver himself to him. Right now, there's only one path for us, and that is to force our way out of the city. Although Big Sister Gu frowned, she still said, I'll help you stall Emochi. With Ling support, the city lord and the city guard commander won't be a problem. We're not far from the North Gate. We shouldn't need too much fighting to force our way out. Lord Yu, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, it's best that you don't interact with us too much right now, Xiao Yu said kindly. Lord Yu nodded, then cupped his fists and left. Although he was righteous, he wasn't a brute. He could only help Xiao Yu's family within the limits of what he thought was reasonable. He definitely wouldn't get involved in something like this that would offend a powerful faction. Xiao Yu looked at Miling again. Miling smiled, revealing a row of small white teeth. He said, I used to be very timid, and I'm still not that brave now. However, even if I die this time, Miling, will definitely accompany everyone. I won't back down. When Xiao Yu had just arrived at the Immortal Realm's Gourd City, Miling had helped him. However, Xiao Yu's subsequent repayment wasn't bad either. After so many years of being together, Miling, who had worked hard alone for so many years, had already integrated himself into this big family. Now that a great disaster was upon them, it was reasonable for him to want to share the trials and tribulations. Big Sister Gu stepped in to help Miao Ying and Qing Xian heal their injuries. Then, Xiao Yu and Big Sister Gu consumed high-quality medicinal pills to recover. After only 2 days, Xiao Yu and Big Sister Gu were the first to leave the residence. The city lord has ordered that before the case is verified, no one is allowed to leave this residence, even half a step. A city guard expert who was in the realm of puppets said sternly. Unfortunately, what responded to this expert was Xiao Yu's ferocious palm strike. His body, which was still standing firm just now, was directly sent flying far away. The city guards surrounding the residence immediately rushed forward. However, they were at most at the 9th celestial layer of Immortal Realm. They couldn't stop Xiao Yu's cultivators. After all, there was still Big Sister Gu, who was in the Extreme Star Realm. However, just as Xiao Yu's side made their move and rushed out of the residential area, the city lord and the city guard commander led thousands of city guards to reinforce them. The city lord and the city guard commander were both true Nirvana Realm cultivators. Not to mention joining forces, just any one of them could easily defeat Xiao Yu. Big Sister Gu made her move. However, just as she did, Emochi appeared in front of her. Sister-in-law, you're forcing me, Emochi said helplessly, just in time to see if you've improved over the years. Big Sister Gu smiled faintly. She didn't look too anxious. She knew that even if she tore down this Gourd City, Emochi wouldn't be able to do anything to her. As for the other experts on Emochi's side, they would probably act as if they didn't see anything. Hee. Then this little brother will accompany you for a few moves. I hope you'll be merciful. Emochi first smiled and dealt with Big Sister Gu. Then he shouted loudly, Kill all these thieves who dare to cause trouble in the city. Yes, the city lord and the city guard commander led thousands of city guards in response. Emochi then started fighting with Big Sister Gu. In order to cover Xiao Yu and the others to kill their way out of the city and really hold Emochi back, Big Sister Gu didn't hold back. Her attacks were very fierce, and Emochi couldn't block them easily. Moreover, extreme astral realm experts couldn't fight in the city. Otherwise, the aftershock of their fight could easily turn the entire city into ruins. Fortunately, just as Big Sister Gu flew away with Emochi, Ling appeared. She first released a large nebula fog to envelop the city lord. Then, she flashed in front of the city guard commander and exchanged a palm strike with him. Ling attack power might not be strong, but she was still a true Nirvana Realm expert. Her various special abilities were quite threatening to normal Nirvana Realm experts. Ling blocked 2 true Nirvana Realm experts by herself, while Xiao Lingyu and Myling could easily deal with the other Nirvana Realm city guards. Moreover, Xiao Lingyu had already taken out the Xinyuan sword. After completing the refinement of his body, he could already wield this ancient long sword at will. Wherever the Xinyuan sword's edge swept, a fierce sword light would be pushed out. Any city guard who was hit by the sword light would be directly cut in half on the spot. This long sword, which had been famous since ancient times, was now sharp and threatening, with an invincible might. And Ling who was dealing with 2 true Nirvana Realm experts in the air, would occasionally wave her sleeves and scatter a large nebula fog to attack the city guard army blocking the city streets. This helped Xiao Lingyu and the others to advance faster. Miao Ying, Qing Xian, and the other girls were all at the longevity 9th heavenly layer. Facing those city guards with the highest cultivation base of the longevity 9th heavenly layer, they naturally had extraordinary combat strength. After fighting like this for nearly 2 hours, Xiao Lingyu and the others finally rushed out of the north gate of Gourd City as they wished. Along the way, they left behind the corpses of countless city guards, and some cultivators who were invited by the city lord died tragically on the spot. After rushing out of the city, Xiao Lingyu used the nebula fog released by Ling as a cover to summon the round alms-shaped flying magic weapon given by Big Sister Gu. Then, she led the others into the round alms bowl and made a hand seal to accelerate the round alms bowl's flight. The only ones in Gourd City who could intercept the round alms bowl magic weapon were the city lord, the city guard commander, and Mo Chi. However, the 3 of them were blocked by their respective opponents and could only watch as the round alms bowl flew further and further away, finally disappearing from their sight. Ling then turned invisible, no longer dealing with the 2 strong enemies. Mo Chi, you don't seem to be in the right state today. Big Sister Gu shook Missouri Chi off and said with dissatisfaction, "Hee, I can't really fight with my life on the line, can I?" Mo Chi also stopped and laughed unconcernedly. "You seem to be deliberately holding back, only defending and not attacking. Could it be that you're deliberately letting them go?" Big Sister Gu asked curiously. "They don't have that much face," Mo Chi said meaningfully. Chapter 824. They definitely couldn't stay in this gourd bay any longer. There was no point in staying any longer. Under Xiao Lingyu's control, the round bowl-shaped treasure whizzed towards the Immortals' mainland. After flying into the Immortals' mainland, the round bowl didn't stop. Instead, it flew for an entire 3 days. Only when the round bowl was in the air above a barren mountain did Xiao Lingyu slow it down and descend. The escape route and the final stop location were all discussed long ago. Everything was within the plan. They only waited for 5 days. Big Sister Gu was the first to arrive. Ling arrived half a month later than her. "Right now, we need to find a safe and hidden place to stay," Anya said. Mo Chi and the others won't chase after you. After all, you've already escaped, and they've already done their best. They're just trying to put on a tough front for the citizens of Gorbei to see. They want the citizens to know that they'll spare no effort to uphold the city's rules. Big Sister Gu said, "This time, we really have to thank Big Sister Gu for helping us out. If it wasn't for Big Sister's help, we wouldn't have been able to escape the city at all." Xiao Lingyu sincerely thanked her. If I didn't bring you and Ling out to sea, these things wouldn't have happened. It's only right for me to help you out. No matter what, we're still in a cooperative relationship. I can't just watch you guys get captured and killed without getting anything out of it, right?" Big Sister Gu laughed nonchalantly. Linger took out a storage pouch at the right time and handed it to Big Sister Gu. She said, "During those years when you guys were trapped in the Nether Realm, I plundered the outer seas of Gourd Bay and obtained quite a few prescriptions. They're all stored in this storage pouch." Big Sister Gu's divine sense sank into the storage bag. Seeing that there were nearly 100 prescriptions inside, she couldn't help but be overjoyed. She couldn't wait to take out the prescriptions one by one and examine them carefully. Looking at Big Sister Goo's expectant expression, Xiaoling Yu felt that Big Sister Goo seemed to be looking for something. Then, she thought about how she was buying up lost prescriptions. She guessed that Big Sister Goo was looking for one or more lost prescriptions, so she cast her net to try her luck. Not bad, not bad. Here are more than 90 prescriptions worth nearly 2 billion yuan crystals. According to our agreement, I will distribute them to you. Big Sister Goo, you don't have to share the yuan crystals with us. I've been to those treasure troves, and I've obtained more than just prescriptions. I've also obtained many other treasures. The value of those treasures is definitely not less than the value of these prescriptions. Ling interrupted before Big Sister Goo could finish speaking. Hee hee, then I won't be polite. Big Sister Goo smiled and nodded. Only then did she put away the storage pouch. Floating Cloud City and Gourd City are controlled by great power. In that case, we can't go to Floating Cloud City. Xiaoling Yu frowned and said, continue to advance towards the northeast of the Immortals' mainland. Fly for about 20,000 years with my alms bowl, and you can reach the edge of the Heavenly Star Forest. If you guys hide there, not only can you avoid being hunted down by Gourd City, you can also avoid the Black Windle monster. Big Sister Goo suggested. 10,000 years, Jiang Lanchong said in surprise. This alms bowl is so fast. If it flies at full speed for 10,000 years, how long will it cover? Miaoling was also very surprised. Hee hee, actually you don't have to hide that far. In any case, it's better as long as you're as far away from Floating Cloud City as possible. Big Sister Goo then added, the great power that Mo-Chi belongs to controls the vast territory in the southwest of the Immortals' mainland. If they wholeheartedly want to hunt you down, you guys will still be in danger in their territory. That's why we suggest you guys hide at the edge of the Heavenly Star Forest. Not only is that place the edge of Mo-Chi's power, it's also the place they don't want to go the most. That place should be very dangerous, right? Jiang Lanchong asked. The Heavenly Star Forest is the largest forest in the Immortals' mainland. To put it bluntly, the entire central region of the Immortals' mainland is covered by the Heavenly Star Forest. It's also a place where cultivators don't dare to rashly set foot in. The Heavenly Star Forest is a primitive forest. It's said that it was formed together with the Immortals' world. There are countless Heavenly Star beasts entrenched there. They rarely come out of the forest. As long as you don't go too deep into the Heavenly Star Forest, you won't be in danger. However, the countless Heavenly Star beasts in the Heavenly Star Forest will rush out of the forest on a large scale every once in a while. Their army will sweep through the entire Immortals' mainland aside from the Heavenly Star Forest. They will sweep all the way to the seaside before stopping. That's why the closer they are to the Heavenly Star Forest, the fewer cultivators there will be. On the contrary, the sea that is far away from the Heavenly Star Forest is very prosperous. Big Sister Goo explained. We don't have to hide at the edge of the Heavenly Star Forest. If we find a suitable place on the way to the Heavenly Star Forest, we can also stop and rest for a while. Xiaoling Yu said, I'll go back to Floating Cloud City to pack up first. After that, I'll look for you guys. You guys can set off first. I can easily find you guys. After Big Sister Goo said that, she leaped up and flew in the direction of Floating Cloud City. Regardless of whether we go to the edge of the Heavenly Star Forest or not, we have to at least stay away from Floating Cloud City and Gourd Bay for now. Xiaoling Yu took out the round alms bowl once again. After the whole family flew in, he activated the round alms bowl and flew towards the northeast at full speed. This is for you. Ling took out a storage ring and handed it over to Xiaoling Yu. Xiaoling Yu's divine sense sank into the storage ring and carefully inspected it. The treasures in the storage ring were obtained by Ling during those years outside Gourd Bay. Each and every one of them had some value. With so many treasures, even if Xiaoling Yu's family had a lot of cultivators, they would at least not have to worry about cultivation resources before they reached the extreme star realm. However, Xiaoling Yu thought in his heart, Big Sister Goo is obviously a very wealthy person. She's definitely not a greedy person. She probably doesn't want so many prescriptions to do business. Then why does she want so many prescriptions? His thoughts were quickly focused again when he saw the lotus platform. The lotus platform was circular in shape and had a diameter of about 10 feet. Around it were 180 petals of different colors that looked like they were carved out of ice crystals. It looked magnificent and had an extremely good appearance. The beautiful appearance was secondary. The most important thing was that as soon as one's divine sense touched this lotus platform, it would be frozen. Without the support of a master or any energy, the icy aura it released made Shaolin Yu feel a bone-chilling cold. Obviously, this was an ice-type treasure. After thinking for a while, Shaolin Yu gave it to Qing Xian. At this time, the round alms bowl had been flying for a few days. Shaolin Yu felt that it would be safe for the time being. Therefore, he stopped the round alms bowl and let Qing Xian make the lotus platform recognize its owner. Just as Shaolin Yu had expected, Qing Xian dripped her blood on the lotus platform and did not make it recognize her as its owner. Her blood essence dripped onto the lotus platform and immediately rolled off. Shaolin Yu reminded Qing Xian to try the method of making the chaos treasure recognize her as its owner. Qing Xian did as she was told. She used her consciousness to touch the lotus seat. Perhaps it was because her soul strength also had an icy aura, so when her consciousness came into contact with the lotus seat, it did not freeze immediately. Qing Xian's divine sense quickly enveloped the lotus platform. Then, she used her mind to guide the weapon spirit of the lotus platform. Not long after, the lotus platform suddenly trembled. Then, a misty cold mist enveloped Qing Xian's body. Under the guidance of the cold mist, Qing Xian's body was pulled onto the lotus platform. Then, the petals of the lotus platform released a gorgeous light that circulated around Qing Xian's body. After waiting for half an hour, the colorful light and cold mist surrounding Qing Xian gradually dissipated. A lotus insignia appeared between Qing Xian's eyebrows. Under Shaolin Yu's surprised gaze, Qing Xian waved her sleeve and the lotus platform under her feet disappeared. Shaolin Yu was not surprised that Qing Xian could make the lotus platform recognize her as its owner. Instead, he was surprised that Qing Xian's cultivation had gone from the 9th celestial layer of longevity realm to the nirvana heart realm in half an hour. Qing Xian smiled at everyone. Then, she opened her palm. With a thought, a colorful lotus-like nirvana true fire appeared. What this lotus-like nirvana true fire released was not a scorching heat, but a coldness that could freeze a large area of space. That lotus platform must be an extremely powerful magic treasure. Otherwise, how could it allow its owner's cultivation to increase so much as soon as it recognized her as its owner? In addition to Ling, Jiang Lanchang, and the other girls all had envious expressions. Even Xiao Hong and the other children all surrounded Shaolin Yu after clapping and cheering. They also wanted good magic treasure. Ling had obtained a lot of good magic treasures from the treasure trove, but none of them could compare to this lotus platform. However, with so many magic treasures, there was not much use in keeping them. Shaolin Yu naturally would not be stingy with her children. She immediately took out a large pile for them to choose from. The children chose magic treasures, but they did not look at their power. They only looked at their appearance. They would choose whichever magic treasure had an exquisite shape. I have to find an opportunity to refine my blood flute again. Miaoing spun the blood flute in her hand and said with jealousy, "Husband, you can't favor one and discriminate against the other. When we served you, we were very dedicated." Jiang Lanchang said very directly, "Hee, I will. Shaolin Yu could only reply with a hollow laugh. Naturally, no one would get into a fight because of a magic treasure. Shaolin Yu immediately took out the round bowl magic treasure and continued to fly towards the northeast. During the flight, Linger reminded there are also several dozen large bottles of light green liquid. They should also be extraordinary. Shaolin Yu nodded and took out a large jade bottle that was over a foot tall. Then, she opened the bottle stopper and the bottle's mouth. As soon as the bottle stopper was opened, A light green mist gushed out and entered everyone's body with unstoppable force. Xiao Lingyu was startled and hurriedly closed the bottle. Chapter 825. This liquid contains extremely dense life, essence, energy. Just by smelling it, it can actually make my body feel incomparably comfortable. If I drink a mouthful, I'll definitely be able to quickly recover from my injuries. I'm afraid it'll be of great use even to extreme astral realm experts. Xiao Lingyu was inwardly astonished, and in addition to being astonished, he was naturally filled with joy. With so much light green liquid, he, his wife, and his friends wouldn't have to worry too much about being injured in the future. As for whether this light green liquid had any other more special and powerful uses, he could only slowly discover them in the future. After organizing the treasures that Ling had obtained, Xiao Lingyu continued to fly with the alms bowl while continuing to cultivate. The cultivation of Nirvana realm had 5 realms. In fact, it was divided into 5 steps. Xiao Lingyu was currently at the peak of the early stage of chaotic Nirvana realm, which was equivalent to having passed the 2 steps of body Nirvana realm and heart Nirvana realm. Next, he would enter the middle stage of chaotic Nirvana realm, completing the chaotic nascent soul and golden soul pearls Nirvana. And in the 5 steps of Nirvana realm, the most important thing wasn't to increase one's strength, but to increase the might of Nirvana, true fire. For example, Nirvana true fire in body Nirvana realm was silver, and in Nirvana soul realm, Nirvana true fire would become golden. Although Xiao Lingyu's chaotic Nirvana true fire's might was silver, it was already a bit stronger than Nirvana true fire after Nirvana soul realm. It was a good thing that Nirvana true fire was strong, but it was relatively more difficult to continue increasing it. Ordinary cultivators only needed to continuously refine Yang true fire or Yin true fire to increase Nirvana true fire, but he had to refine both Yang and Yin true fire at the same time. Moreover, he had to fuse them together, which undoubtedly increased the difficulty by many times. It just so happened that he used the same method as everyone else to refine true fire, which was to accumulate the yin and yang energy from the 9 suns and 9 moons in the sky step by step to refine wisps of true fire. If he continued to cultivate with this method, his chaotic nirvana true fire's speed of improvement would be many times slower than ordinary cultivators. Although Xiao Lingyu wasn't greedy and didn't want to cultivate much faster than other cultivators, if he was much slower than ordinary cultivators, he still wouldn't be happy in his heart. Therefore, how to speed up his cultivation had become his main concern. Speeding up his cultivation was actually speeding up the condensation of the primal chaos, true nirvana flame. In other words, it would allow him to gather the energy released by the 9 suns and 9 moons at a faster rate. Only in this way would he be able to refine even more primal chaos, true nirvana flame within a certain period of time and gradually achieve the cultivation effect of quantitative change causing a qualitative change. To refine nirvana true fire, moon crystals and sun crystals were the same. They could not be refined into nirvana true fire. When cultivators cultivated the nirvana true fire, they usually followed the prescribed order, and it was difficult to take shortcuts. Xiao Lingyu suddenly thought of the mysterious diagram that could create moon true fire. He thought that diagram should be used by some moon attribute cultivator to speed up the cultivation of nirvana true fire. It wasn't used to create moon true fire. In the next period of flying, he began to devote himself to studying and comprehending the diagram. Back then, he only recorded it in the depths of his soul. He didn't have the time to comprehend it. Now that he had some free time, he could see if he could make a breakthrough in this aspect. Xiao Lingyu was, after all, a formation expert before he ascended. He had an extremely strong ability to study formations and restrictions. Ling also obtained a lot of jade slips and ancient books about restrictions from the treasure trove. As long as he carefully studied and comprehended those jade slips and ancient books, it shouldn't be difficult for him to comprehend the diagram. The round bowl had been flying for close to 100 years. Big Sister Goo had also caught up. During this time, in order to rest and not be easily tracked, he had stopped or gone around in circles. Otherwise, Big Sister Goo would have needed a longer time to meet up with everyone. Big Sister Goo, do you have a more detailed method of restriction formation? After some small talk, Xiaoling Yu asked Big Sister Goo expectantly. Yes, I do. Speaking of which, I can be considered a little expert in restriction formation. Big Sister Goo smiled and said, in the next 100 years of flying, Big Sister Goo taught Xiaoling Yu everything she knew about restriction formation. When she found out that Xiaoling Yu was also very skilled in restriction formation, she discussed it with Xiaoling Yu day and night. She learned a lot from Xiaoling Yu. Xiaoling Yu originally had a very good foundation in restriction formation. In addition to Big Sister Goo's patient teaching, he naturally gradually grasped the characteristics of the restriction formation of the world of immortals. After flying for another 200 years, it had been more than 400 years since they left Gourd Island. Xiaoling Yu finally understood the profound diagram. He couldn't wait to try it out. We've flown over millions of mountains and rivers. We're very far from Gore Bay. Even if Emo Chi doesn't give up, I'm afraid he won't be able to find us in a short time. Why don't we stop and settle down first? Xiaoling Yu suggested. That's good too. Big Sister Goo didn't have any objections. She said, my husband and I built a temporary cave residence nearby. That cave residence is protected by my husband's restriction formation. I think it's still there now. Let's go there and settle down first. Xiaoling Yu and his family naturally didn't have any objections. Big Sister Goo immediately controlled the round bowl to change direction and fly. After flying for a month, Big Sister Goo put away the round bowl and led everyone to land in a large valley. This Grand Canyon was formed by the impact of a turbulent river. On both sides of the canyon were mountains that were tens of thousands of feet high. The mountains were all surrounded by lush forests. The water in the valley flowed endlessly. Steam rose from the surface of the river. The roars of ferocious beasts could be heard from the forests on both sides. This large valley was thousands of miles long. The cave residence that Big Sister Goo pointed to was at the waist of a steep cliff in the middle of the large valley. The entrance was only 1 meter tall and 1 meter wide. From the outside, there was nothing special about it. They could even see birds flapping their wings and flying out of it. Even when they landed at the entrance, Xiaoling Yu didn't sense any fluctuations of restriction formation. It was clear that Big Sister Goo's husband was also an expert in the Tao of restriction formations. Under Big Sister Goo's lead, everyone entered the cave one by one. The cave was very long and only 1 person wide. It was pitch black all around. Father, I don't like it here, Xiao Ni pouted and said. I don't like it either. Xiao Hong and the other 5 children also had unhappy expressions. After all, they were used to living in a spacious and bright courtyard. Haha, it's just a temporary place to stay, Xiaoling Yu said with a smile. The mothers immediately restrained their children so that they wouldn't talk too much. After walking for nearly 10,000 feet, they finally reached the end of the cave. An uneven stone wall blocked their way forward. Big Sister Goo waved her hand and formed a seal. The stone wall disappeared after a strange fluctuation, revealing a stone door. The stone door was simple and unadorned. It looked extremely sturdy. Big Sister Goo formed another seal. This time, she formed nearly 100 sets of seals before the stone door slowly opened. Behind the stone door was a rather large cave. The length and breadth of the cave were no less than 3,000 feet. In the middle of the cave was a pond that was about 150 feet wide. There was a small pavilion in the middle of the pond. There were aquatic plants growing in the pond. Large patches of duckweed floated on the surface of the pond. There were also fish swimming happily in the water. Around the pond, there were many stone stools and stone tables. There were also many exotic flowers and plants competing with each other. These flowers and plants were extraordinary. Even though they hadn't been taken care of for many years, they still appeared lively and prosperous. There were many stone doors on the stone walls around the cave. Behind those stone doors were probably meditation rooms or secret rooms used for cultivation. There aren't many rooms here. However, it's still relatively easy to carve out a few meditation rooms. You guys take a look around. I'll carve out a few more meditation rooms. After Big Sister Gu finished speaking, she flew to the bottom of a stone wall. First, she formed a seal to unlock the restriction on the stone wall. Then, she chiseled the stone wall. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, a new quiet room appeared. After carving out more than 10 meditation rooms, Big Sister Gu strengthened and adjusted the cave abode's restriction and formation. Then, she taught Shaolin Yu how to control the restriction and formation in the cave abode. After accompanying everyone in the cave abode for a month, Big Sister Gu waited until everyone was familiar with the cave abode. Then, she said, "Little Sister Ling, if you're free, would you like to accompany me for a walk?" The so-called walk naturally meant going out to find the treasure. Ling had a special physique. She couldn't cultivate like everyone else. Therefore, she was just an idle person in the cave abode. She also wanted to go out for a walk. Perhaps she could find some opportunity to increase her strength. However, she still looked at Shaolin Yu. There's no harm in going out for a walk. However, you have to be careful. If you can't do something, don't force it. Shaolin Yu nodded. With Shaolin Yu's permission, Ling followed Big Sister Gu and left the cave abode temporarily. After Ling and Big Sister Gu left, Shaolin Yu first helped his wife, friends, and children enter a state of cultivation. Then, he entered the largest meditation room carved out by Big Sister Gu. He began to carve the mysterious formation diagram. He had already thoroughly studied it. Therefore, it wasn't difficult to carve the formation diagram. In less than a day, the formation diagram had already appeared on an extremely high-quality stone slab. He formed a seal and sent it into the formation diagram. The patterns on the formation diagram began to slowly move. When night fell, waves of moonlight strangely passed through the thick and huge body and was gathered by the formation. Under the effect of this formation, with the cave as the center, all the moonlight within a radius of several hundred miles began to flow towards the cave. The speed of gathering was at least 100 times faster than when Shaolin Yu used his divine will to guide the moonlight. Chapter 826. With the increase in his strength and realm, Shaolin Yu's refining speed of the Nirvana True Fire had increased by quite a bit. With the help of the array diagram, the last time he refined a wisp of moon attribute Nirvana True Fire, it took him several 100,000 years. This time, it only took him less than 1,000 years. However, just the moon attribute Nirvana True Fire was not enough. If he wanted to refine the primal Nirvana True Fire, he must also have a yang attribute Nirvana True Fire. Although the refining speed of a yang attribute Nirvana True Fire was much faster than the moon attribute Nirvana True Fire, if there was no way to speed it up, it would still take him 10,000 years to refine a wisp. Can I also create an array diagram that gathers yang attribute energy? Shaolin Yu had the idea of modifying the profound array diagram. Thus, he began to study it again. 1,000 years had passed. Ling and Big Sister Gu had not returned. They were probably still busy looking for the hidden treasure. Big Sister Gu had been in the world of immortals for quite a long time. She should know where the treasures could be hidden. She also understood the principle of being careful. Moreover, she was also an extreme Star Realm expert. Thus, Shaolin Yu did not need to worry about her and Ling In the forbidden array diagram that Big Sister Gu passed on to him, there were many arrays that gathered yang attribute energy. Shaolin Yu picked out these arrays and carefully studied them. In addition to his understanding of the array diagram that gathered moon essence, he used less than 100 years to create an array that was comparable to the profound array diagram. This array diagram did not look as profound and ingenious as the array diagram, but its power was definitely not lacking. With the help of the array diagram and the array diagram, Shaolin Yu's refining speed of the primal Nirvana True Fire was undoubtedly much faster. It was at least 2 times faster than an ordinary cultivator cultivating a single type of Nirvana True Fire. Time slowly passed. Shaolin Yu, his wife, friends, and children were also diligently cultivating. Another 2,000 years passed. Myling, who had the star pole magnet and a large amount of cultivation resources, smoothly broke through to the Nirvana soul realm. Big Sister Gu and Linger had finally returned. From their weather-beaten, yet joyful expressions, it was obvious that they had suffered a lot, but they had also gained a lot. After leaving behind many treasures and accompanying everyone for a while, Big Sister Gu and Ling was set off again while everyone continued to cultivate. Not long after, Anya, Yueru, Miaoying, Jiang Lanyue, Jiang Lanchong, Xiao Bing, and the Devourer of Heaven also advanced to the body puppet realm one after another. Xiao Lingyu also engraved array diagrams or arranged arrays in their quiet rooms to help them condense the nirvana, true fire. Another few thousand years passed, and Xiao Lingyu's primal chaos true nirvana flame finally turned from a silver white to a faint gold color. After which, he once again began to absorb the comprehension within the life jewels of those nirvana-stage demonic beasts without any restraint. As for the improvement of his cultivation, it was very simple. A large amount of moon crystals and yang crystals were simply inexhaustible. After completing the improvement of his cultivation and soul realm, Xiao Lingyu used the pale, gold primal chaos true fire to burn his entire body and began to refine his body. The process was still painful. He didn't prepare any pills or materials. He only used the mist of the pale green liquid to keep his body from dying and calmly endure the entire process to the end. The silver primal chaos true fire was already comparable to the nirvana true fire of an ordinary nirvana soul realm cultivator. Now, the pale gold primal chaos true fire was even stronger than the true fire of a nirvana soul realm cultivator. It was definitely not weaker than the true fire of a true nirvana realm cultivator. Xiao Lingyu's body and physical strength should also be comparable to a true nirvana realm cultivator. It could be said that he had made a lot of progress in the past 10,000 years. In terms of cultivation, Xiao Lingyu had already reached the mid-stage of the nirvana realm. After all, before he made this progress, he was already at the peak of the early stage of the nirvana realm. In terms of strength, Xiao Lingyu, who had many advantages, could already face a true nirvana realm expert head-on. However, he was still far from the extreme star realm. Although cultivation was very difficult, it was stable and quiet. The children were also used to this small courtyard, so they didn't make any noise. There weren't many cultivators gathered in the surrounding 10,000 miles of this canyon. It was also very difficult for the passing cultivators to discover the existence of this cave. Even if a cultivator occasionally passed by and felt the strange fluctuation of yin and yang energy, they would at most enter the cave and then helplessly retreat after encountering the stone wall. However, Xiao Lingyu's wantonly gathering of yin and yang energy to refine the primal chaos true fire was really not small. Any cultivator who was sensitive to energy fluctuations would be able to detect it as long as they passed by. Most of them would also enter the cave to take a look. The cave's defensive restriction and formation were very powerful. According to Big Sister Gu, even an extreme star realm expert would have a hard time breaking it in a short period of time. That was why Xiao Lingyu was so daring. 10,000 years was nothing to the world of immortals. Moreover, in the vast and boundless world of immortals, cultivators rarely came out. Even if they came out occasionally, they wouldn't be willing to linger in the middle of the road. It was normal that no experts passed by this canyon. However, 20,000 years after Xiao Lingyu's family came to this cave in this canyon, their peaceful days finally came to an end. An extreme star realm expert happened to pass by the canyon's airspace. He felt the strange fluctuation of yin and yang energy here, and quickly found the cave and walked to the end of the cave. This cultivator was a lean old man. His eyes were shining brightly, as if he was very intelligent. He looked at the stone wall in front of him for a long time and muttered to himself, "The energy fluctuation here is so strange. If it's not an expert cultivating here, then it's some powerful treasure that has been gathering energy for many years and is waiting to break through the ground and come into being. If there's an expert cultivating here, he would only need to make the yang or moon energy fluctuate abnormally. How could it be two different types of energy fluctuating at the same time? Only a few special treasures nurtured by heaven and earth would be able to create such a strange fluctuation. Thinking up to this point, he didn't hesitate any longer and immediately began to attack the stone wall. Although this old man hadn't reached the peak of the extreme star realm, he was clearly more powerful than ordinary extreme star realm experts. After nearly 3 days of continuous attacks, the stone wall was broken through and disappeared into nothingness, revealing the stone door. Xiaoling Yu's family, who were inside the cave, had long sensed that there was an attack outside. At first, they didn't take it to heart, but when they felt the cave shake more and more violently, they finally became nervous. After all, the cave's restrictions and formations weren't set up by them, so they didn't know how powerful the cave's defenses were. The lean old man didn't retreat in the face of difficulties. On the contrary, his attacks over the past few days didn't draw out any experts to stop him, which made him even more energetic. However, after attacking the stone door for an entire month without breaking it open, he finally realized that it was extremely difficult to open the stone door with his strength alone. Thus, he hesitated and thought for a while, and first set up some restrictions and formations to conceal the cave, then leaped and flew away. Sensing that the cave was no longer shaking, and that there didn't seem to be any big movements coming from outside, Xiaoling Yu's family let out a long sigh of relief, secretly thinking that the other party had finally retreated. Unfortunately, after only 3 months, the cave began to shake violently again, and this time, it shook even more violently than before. It seems like the other party hasn't given up. It seems like they've even called for help. Xiaoling Yu said with a gloomy expression. Then what should we do? Whoever dares to attack here must be an extreme star realm expert, Anya said with a frown. Don't worry, the defensive formations and restrictions here aren't easy to break. Before Big Sister Gu left, she set up some restrictions here. As long as there's a strong attack here, she'll bring Ling Er back to help. Xiaoling Yu comforted. Xiaoling Yu knew that the formations and restrictions inside the cave were extremely powerful and not easy to break. But at this moment, she couldn't help but feel a bit worried. If the defenses inside the cave were broken, although Xiaoling Yu's family had many people, they wouldn't be able to face a single extreme star realm expert, let alone the fact that there were many extreme star realm experts outside. There was indeed more than one extreme star realm expert outside. That lean old man had returned after leaving for 3 months, but this time he brought 2 more extreme star realm experts with him. The 3 extreme star realm experts didn't dare to make too much of a commotion to avoid attracting other experts to fight over the treasures. They stood in front of the stone door, using a special formation to increase their attack power, and bombarded the stone door's gap. Concentrating their attacks on a single point was indeed one of the most effective ways to break through a formation. After all, they weren't formation experts. Big Sister Gu and Ling Er were indeed rushing back at full speed, but their expressions were filled with anxiety and regret. In order to obtain more treasures, they had gone too far. Even if Big Sister Gu rushed back at full speed, it would still take her close to 500 years to get back. She wasn't sure if the cave would be able to hold out until they got back. More importantly, if there were too many enemies, even if they got back, they might not be able to do anything. Although the cave's defenses were strong, the enemies were still 3 extreme star realm experts working together. In just 200 years, the cave's defensive restrictions and formations were already showing signs of collapsing. Haha, at most 50 years, and we'll be able to succeed, the lean old man said happily. The 3 extreme star realm experts saw hope, and they all worked even harder. Xiaoling Yu and her family, who were hiding in the cave, were all living in fear. In order to last longer, Xiaoling Yu had been constantly reinforcing the array and restriction spells in the cave. Fortunately, They had a lot of high-quality materials to provide the conditions for setting up the array. But no matter how hard she tried, she could only make the cave's defenses last for a few more years. In the blink of an eye, another 20 years had passed. The cave's defensive restrictions still hadn't collapsed, but another extreme Star Realm expert had rushed into the cave. The newcomer wasn't Big Sister Gu, nor was it the other three's helpers. It was Xiao Tianquan. Appearing at such a dangerous time, I'm sure that kid will be moved to tears. Xiao Tianquan thought happily in its heart. Chapter 827. Who are you, evildoer? Hurry up and retreat. The skinny old man shouted, waving his hand and shooting out a ray of light at the howling celestial dog. The ray of light was dazzling, as if it was made up of countless stars. It emitted a scorching heat like a rocket. The howling celestial dog continued to rush forward, and when the ray of light was close enough, it waved its front paw and fiercely slapped it. Bang! With a loud explosion, the rocket-like stream of light collapsed into countless sparks that resembled starlight. The howling celestial dog's speed was not affected by this, and it had already rushed to the stone door, knocking over an astral realm expert. Woof! The howling celestial dog barked at the three astral realm experts, and all the hair on its body immediately stood on end. A fierce aura surged from its body. Brother Chun, let's restrain this beast. Brother He continued to attack the stone door. The skinny old man said to his two companions, and then a long sword appeared in his hand. The long sword emitted a cold light, and it looked extremely sharp. It was obviously not an ordinary item. The expert surnamed Chen also took out a magic treasure that looked like an iron ruler and took the lead to sweep it towards the howling celestial dog. As for the expert surnamed He did as he was told and used a broadsword to hack at the stone door. The howling celestial dog did not obstruct the expert surnamed He's attack on the stone door. It opened its mouth and spat out 5 powerful magic treasures: an axe, a whip, a spear, a battle axe, and a blade. After repelling the iron ruler's attack, it closed in on the skinny old man and the expert surnamed Chun. When it had first broken out of its seal, the howling celestial dog had used 6 attack-type magic treasures to fight 6-star realm experts alone without falling into a disadvantageous position. Not to mention that it was currently only fighting against 2-star realm experts. Naturally, it was not afraid at all and could handle the situation with ease. The skinny old man and the expert surnamed Chun were beaten to the point where they could barely raise their heads. They did not have a chance to fight back, but the two of them were still bitterly holding on, waiting for the expert surnamed He to break open the stone door. The expert surnamed He was also using all his strength, but wanting to break open the stone door in such a short time was not an easy task. The howling celestial dog did not use all its strength to attack, and only restrained the skinny old man and the expert surnamed Chun. It maintained a posture where it could defeat its opponents at any time, but it was not willing to use its strength, as if it was deliberately exhausting the strength of the 2 experts. After 3 days of frantic attacks, the stone door was finally broken open. But at this moment, they felt that something was wrong, and they were heavily injured and sent to retreat far away. Actually, they had long felt that something was wrong, but they still had a trace of hope, and they were unwilling to give up the stone door after all. They had already felt that something was wrong, of course, but was Xiao Lingyu and his family, who were in the cave behind the stone door, were naturally extremely nervous when they saw the stone door being blasted open. They all prepared their own attacks, and when the stone door was opened, their attacks were launched together. The expert surnamed He had wanted to be the first to rush in and snatch the treasure, but the attack that greeted him directly blasted him back. Xiao Lingyu's wife and children's attacks were not that strong, but the bloody light of his destruction heavenly was enough to seriously injure a Star Realm expert. The expert surnamed He had rushed forward, so it was hard to avoid being hit. Xiao Lingyu had been in seclusion these past few years. his strength had improved greatly, and the power of his destruction heavenly I had naturally increased by several times. If the expert surnamed he had not forgotten to defend himself, he would have died on the spot after being hit by the bloody light of destruction. It would not have been as simple as having one of his arms blown off. The expert surnamed he had been injured and retreated. He was also attacked by the howling celestial dog's 5 magic treasures, making it difficult for him to rush into the cave. To be honest, when Shaolin Yu saw the howling celestial dog, he was incomparably excited. He felt his whole body relax, as if a mountain had been lifted from his heart. At this point, the howling celestial dog did not need to hold back. In front of Shaolin Yu, it was abnormally fierce. Not to mention that the 3-star realm experts were already seriously injured. Even if they were in peak condition, they would not be able to withstand the attacks of the howling celestial dog's 5 powerful magic treasures. They could not hold on for more than 100 breaths of time before being killed by the howling celestial dog. Fortunately, I traveled day and night. Otherwise, I really would have let these 3 fellows succeed. The howling celestial dog raised its head, looking disdainfully at everyone in the world. That's right. Fortunately, Senior arrived in time. Otherwise, if I lost my life here, Senior Soul would also scatter, Shaolin Yu replied. Hee, such a thing will never happen. That old bastard Hong Jun said that you were lucky. No one will die except you. The howling celestial dog scratched its head with a front paw and laughed dryly. Being used as a chess piece by others, your fate is controlled in the hands of others. Even if you walk to the end, it will be meaningless. In the end, you may be abandoned. Shaolin Yu said. Chess piece? You mean you have been used as a chess piece by others? No way. Who has such great magical power? The howling celestial dog said, in surprise. That Hong Jun ancestor calculated everything about me and used various means to control my fate. Isn't he using me as a chess piece? Shaolin Yu sneered. Haha. The howling celestial dog let out a burst of laughter and then said, You think too much. Although that old bastard Hong Jun is a master at the peak of the star realm, he has great strength and means, but he doesn't have the ability to control your fate. He just has an extremely strong deduction ability. As far as I know, that old bastard often divined the secrets of heaven, and then he saw that there would be a cultivator from my earth who would overcome all obstacles and reach the peak. That's why he left me to wait. That old bastard has already taken many top masters to the ancient Star Road. Now, I don't know whether he is alive or dead. When he went to the ancient Star Road, I'm afraid you weren't even born yet. His deduction at that time was only a very vague and mysterious scene. He didn't know who would be the descendant from Earth, and he didn't have such great magical power to control your fate across the space-time barrier of the world of immortals. Hearing this, Shaolin Yu couldn't help but frown. If there is really a master who can control your fate, then it's definitely not that old bastard Hong Jun. His cultivation is definitely above the star realm. There are many top masters on Earth. They may have left you some guidance or mission in the cultivation world, the immortal, devil, and demon realms, or the immortal realm, but it's absolutely impossible for them to control your fate. There are too many variables in a cultivator's fate, and they are not by your side. How can they know which path you will choose when you face a fork in the road? The howling celestial dog continued to explain. Above the star realm, there is a stronger realm, Shaolin Yu said in surprise. Haha, there is no end to cultivation. Although I have never seen an existence stronger than the peak of the star realm, this doesn't mean that there is no such existence. Otherwise, why would that old bastard Hong Jun take so many masters to explore the ancient Star Road? The howling celestial dog said with a smile. What is the ancestor Hong Jun's plan for leaving Senior behind to guide me? Shaolin Yu asked again. I don't know about this. He only told me that before you reach the Star Realm, I must protect you thoroughly. Masters like that old bastard Hong Jun like to deliberately mystify things and refuse to speak clearly. The howling celestial dog shook its head and complained. Shaolin Yu felt that this howling celestial dog was indeed not a person who could hide his words. No, a dog, so he didn't ask any more questions. His eyes stared at the corpses of the 3 Star Realm Masters. Alright, the extreme starfire on these 3 guys are all priceless treasures. If you can refine it, it will have the same effect as refining extreme star ferromagnets. It will be very easy for you to reach the extreme star realm. As the howling celestial dog spoke, it waved its front paw, and 3 invisible forces acted on the 3 corpses. From them, 3 fire oranges that seemed to contain countless stars were drawn out. Those 3 blazing oranges were like a starry sky, and those specks of starlight were like planets in the starry sky. They should be the star brilliant extreme fire that only a star extreme master could possess. It was a true fire that was countless times more powerful than Nirvana true fire. Shaolin Yu had his own way of cultivating true fire. The starlight extreme fire had no effect on him. He looked at his wives and friends. Lil Bing and the Devourer of Heaven cultivated their own demonic fires. It was not suitable for them to refine other flames to improve their Nirvana true fire, so the Starlight Extreme fire had little effect on them. Qing Xian had the Lotus platform, so it would not be too difficult for her to advance to the Star Realm. She also did not need the Starlight Extreme fire. Give me their corpses to refine the Blood Flute. I don't need their Starlight Extreme fire. Miaoing said, I have a fiend body, which is considered moon attribute. The 3 of them all have Yang attribute Starlight Extreme fire. I don't need it either. Yueru followed. Hee. Then doesn't that mean I have a share? Jiang Lanchong said with bright eyes. The 3 Starlight Extreme fires were given to Jiang Lanchong, Jiang Lanyue, and Anya by Shaolin Yu. Jiang Lanchong and her sister were not special cultivators, so the Starlight Extreme fire would naturally be of great help to them. Although Anya was a sword cultivator, if she could refine the Starlight Extreme fire into her sword nascent soul, it would also improve the quality of the sword nascent soul and the power of her sword moves. As for the children, they were naturally not a priority. After all, their cultivation was too low and they had too little experience. Miling already had the Star Pole Magnet. He would advance to the Star Realm sooner or later, so he did not need the Starlight Extreme fire. After the Starlight Extreme fire was distributed, Miao Ying took out her blood flute in front of everyone and then used a secret technique. Miao Ying had only just reached the Nirvana realm. No matter how powerful her secret technique was, it was extremely dangerous to directly refine in Star Realm Expert. However, the Howling Celestial Dog could use a secret technique to help her, allowing the Star Realm Expert's energy to slowly release. Everyone entered the cave and repaired the cave's formations and restrictions with the help of the Howling Celestial Dog. Chapter 828. 200 years quickly passed. With the help of the Howling Celestial Dog, Miao Ying refined most of the essence of the 3 extreme Star Realm Experts in her blood flute, greatly increasing the power and quality of the blood flute. At the same time, even if a small part of the essence was absorbed by her, it still directly promoted her to the true Nirvana realm, only one step away from the extreme star realm. This kind of rapid cultivation method was also supported by Miao Ying's clan's secret technique, the Howling Celestial Dog's help, and Shaolin Yu's countless elixirs and heavenly treasures. Otherwise, ordinary cultivators simply wouldn't be able to digest the essence of the extreme star realm experts. The extreme star realm experts used the brilliant star fire to temper their bodies. The essence of the energy in their bodies could help the Nirvana realm cultivators to continuously increase the power and quality of the Nirvana true fire. At the same time, it strengthened the vitality and toughness of the cultivator's body. This process was completed with the help of the Howling Celestial Dog. Right now, Miaowen was only one step away from the Extreme Star Realm. As long as she could touch the characteristics of the Extreme Star Realm, she would be able to smoothly advance. The key to advancing from the Nirvana Realm to the Extreme Star Realm is to transform the Yang attribute power and Moon attribute power into star power. In fact, the 9 suns and 9 moons in the sky of the world of immortals are all stars. It's just that they are relatively close to the world of immortals, so they appear more dazzling and clear. In fact, the power and energy of those stars in the sky of the world of immortals are not inferior to the 9 suns and 9 moons that everyone can see. There are even some that are stronger than the 9 suns and 9 moons. In fact, the reason why the world of immortals can continue indefinitely is because of the endless stars and 9 moons that provide the world of immortals with energy. Seeing that everyone was listening attentively, the howling celestial dog felt slightly proud in its heart. It continued, looking for star power in the rich yin and yang energy of the 9 suns and 9 moons alternating day and night requires an extremely high realm. This realm requires the cultivator to have the ability to communicate with the heaven and earth, to be able to find the star power and gather it into the body, and then refine it into the brilliant star fire. One can be considered a true extreme star realm expert. The brilliant star extreme fire is the same as the star magnetic force. It will help the cultivator automatically absorb the star power between heaven and earth. Therefore, the cultivator who has the star magnetic force and the brilliant star extreme fire will be able to easily reach the extreme star realm. Senior, with the help of the star pole magnet or the brilliant star fire, I have the power of the star extreme realm, but I haven't reached the star extreme realm yet. What should I do? Smiling asked sincerely. It's very simple. Go to the heavenly star forest and kill an astral extreme realm heavenly star beast. Absorb an astral extreme realm heavenly star beast life pearl, and you'll be able to quickly reach the astral extreme realm. Of course, if you're rich enough, you can also use yang crystals or moon crystals to buy it. However, the value of an extreme star beast life pearl is very difficult to measure with yang crystals or moon crystals. Even if a cultivator sells it, I'm afraid it will be exchanged for some special medicinal pills or magic treasures. At this point, Xiao Tianquan suddenly stopped and asked Xiaoling Yu, since you're an earth cultivator, you should know about Taishang Laojun, right? One of the 3 pure ones? Taiji diagram? Xiaoling Yu asked in surprise. Yes, that's him. He's that old bastard Hongjuan's proud disciple. Xiao Tianquan first nodded, then said, he's a true expert in alchemy. He once refined a cauldron of star extreme pill. Consuming 1 pill can allow a nirvana realm cultivator to directly reach the star extreme realm. However, that old man's pill recipe has never been leaked. He accompanied Hongjun to the ancient starry sky path. His Tishita Palace should be hidden in the Immortals' mainland. If we can find the Tishita Palace, it's very likely that we'll be able to obtain the star extreme pill. Seniors should know where the Tishita Palace is hidden, right? Even if you don't know, you should have some clues. Xiaoling Yu said with a smile. This I really don't know. That old man's methods are so brilliant. Not to mention me. Even if my master was still in the Immortals world, I'm afraid it would be very difficult to find where he hid the Tishida Palace. Xiao Tianquan shook its head. At this point, Xiaoling Yu suddenly felt that the cave's restriction had been triggered. Just as she was about to raise her guard, the stone door suddenly opened. Big Sister Gu and Ling hurriedly walked in. When she saw Xiao Tianquan, Big Sister Gu was very surprised. She said, "You're that damn dog?" Xiao Tianquan was unhappy. It was originally lying lazily, but suddenly stood up and stretched out a front paw. It pointed at Big Sister Gu and scolded, "You little girl, how can you be so disrespectful to your elders? When I was in the Star Extreme Realm, you were just a little girl wearing a red doo-doo with bare buttocks. So what? Even your master is polite when she sees my husband. Why should I respect you as my elder?" Big Sister Gu said, unconvinced. "Forget it. That's because my master is giving your husband face. Your husband's strength is far inferior to my master's," Xiao Tianquan said. "My husband's cultivation time is shorter, and he doesn't have any backing. Naturally, he can't be compared to your lineage's background. If your master didn't have the support of countless powerhouses from your lineage, she might not be as strong as my husband." Big Sister Gu was still very unconvinced. From the conversation between Big Sister Gu and Xiao Tianquan, it could be seen that Big Sister Gu knew Xiao Tianquan. However, she was not a cultivator from the earth lineage, and neither was her husband. Let's not talk about your husband and my master. Let's talk about the two of us. I started cultivating much earlier than you, and my cultivation is much higher than yours. Aren't I your elder? Xiao Tianquan said proudly. Forget it. I don't have an elder like you. Back then, when the heavenly star beast swept through the immortals' mainland, you only went out to fight one battle and said that you were too injured. When we went to ask you to fight, you pretended to be dead in your doghouse. When we defeated the heavenly star beast's army, you came out to chase after them. If I had an elder like you, I would have died from shame. Big Sister Gu said, sarcastically without holding back. You still have the nerve to mention this. Back then, if my master didn't send me over to help your husband, I wouldn't have bothered with you. You would have been dismembered by the heavenly star beasts. I helped you with good intentions, and you're saying that I'm not good for you. You really don't know what's good for you. Xiao Tianquan seemed to be very angry, but its eyes were flickering. It was probably a little guilty. The one who attacked the cave's barrier a few days ago, was it this damn dog? Big Sister Gu pointed at Xiao Tianquan and asked. No, it was 3 astral limit realm experts. However, they were all killed by Xiao Tianquan. Xiaoling Yu shook her head and said. Xiao Tianquan waved its clenched front paws, as if to show that it was very powerful. That's good. Big Sister Gu nodded her head in relief. Then, she said to Xiao Tianquan, I say, you damn dog, didn't you always claim to be very loyal? Why are you still in the world of immortals when your master has already gone to the ancient starry path? Why didn't you accompany your master to his death? Oh, right, for someone like you who is so afraid of death. Even if 2 armies were to face each other, and both sides were evenly matched, you would probably still run away. Little girl, I'm warning you. If you continue to force me, I won't go easy on you. Xiao Tianquan finally flipped out. With such a small tolerance, you have the nerve to call yourself a senior? Big Sister Gu laughed fearlessly. Oof, aren't you deeply in love with your husband? Why didn't you accompany your husband to his death? Xiao Tianquan then said as if it had suddenly realized something. Oh, right. Back then, you hadn't reached the astral limit realm. Now, you've only just reached the astral limit realm. Even if you want to die, you don't have the qualifications. Just as the howling celestial hound finished its sarcastic retort, a huge pressure suddenly pressed down from above. It was as if a huge mountain had collapsed. Although the cave's barrier had been reinforced countless times by Xiao Tianquan and Xiaoling Yu, it still couldn't help but tremble and crackle at this moment. Not good. Even experts like Xiao Tianquan and Big Sister Gu had a huge change in expression. They shouted together and then released their power to envelop Xiaoling Yu and the others. Then, they quickly flew out and escaped with their fastest speed. Xiaoling Yu flew out of the cave and arrived above the canyon. However, he discovered that the sky was dark. When he looked up, he could not see the 9 suns or the 9 moons. Instead, he could see a stretch of pitch-black darkness rushing towards the ground. Strong winds blew in all directions, and the mountain rocks and trees were reduced to dust under the enormous pressure. Terrifying cracks continuously appeared on the solid ground. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Big Sister Gu and Xiao Tianquan were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they were thousands of miles away. However, they flew for a full 100 breaths before they could see the sun again. While the 2-star realm experts were flying at top speed, Xiaoling Yu kept staring at the sky. He saw an incomparably huge sphere covering the sky and the sun as it fell. At the same time, it kept rubbing against the immortal world's space. Its whole body emitted flames, and its size was rapidly shrinking. Looking at the situation, it was as if a planet was falling from the 9 heavens. Boom! A truly earth-shattering explosion was heard. That huge sphere, which was like a planet, fiercely smashed onto the immortals' land. It caused the heaven and earth to tremble violently. An incomparably powerful shock wave suddenly swept in all directions. In an instant, everything within a radius of a few 100,000 miles was flattened. All the creatures in this vast area lost their vitality at the same time. Big Sis Goo and Howling Celestial Dog were both defending with all their might. Luckily, they were both Astral Extreme Realm Warriors, and luckily, they had moved quickly and escaped far away. Otherwise, under the shockwave, half of Shaoling Yu's family would have died. After that shockwave swept past, Big Sister Goo and Xiao Tianquan also stopped. Turning around to look, that huge sphere had already collapsed. Not far away, there was an incomparably huge crater. Thick smoke was billowing out from within. Around the crater, there were countless wide and frightening cracks. Scorching hot magma gushed out from the cracks and flowed in all directions. Flying into the crater, they could see from afar that a huge stone tablet was erected in the middle of the crater. There seemed to be a few big words on it. Chapter 829. Perhaps it was because everyone had been in the cave abode all this time and did not see the strange phenomenon in the sky. Moreover, the restriction and formation in the cave abode had blocked everyone's senses. That was why they only reacted when the cave abode trembled due to the huge pressure. As for the other experts in the vicinity, they had already sensed it. Therefore, they had escaped in time and turned back in time. There were also some powerhouses who were slightly further away. When they saw the strange phenomenon in the sky, they had already begun to fly over. Now, they were also flying towards the center of the huge pit. The stone monument was also 1,000 feet tall, 3,000 feet wide, and 500 feet thick. It stood tall and gave off a strong sense of oppression. It was also a tombstone with the words Tomb of Taishang Lao Jun written on it. No way, that old fellow could die too. Xiao Tianquan was dumbfounded when it saw the words clearly. Even Senior Taishang Lao Jun has fallen. The ancient Starry Sky Road is really a dead end. Big Sister Goo said with a heavy expression. It's over, it's over. This old fellow is dead. I'm afraid my master and your husband don't talk nonsense. Even if your master dies 100 times, my husband will still be fine. Before Xiao Tianquan could finish, Big Sister Goo angrily interrupted. Although I hate that old bastard Hung Jun and his 3 Pure One's disciples, I have to admit that Taishang Laojuan's strength is really abnormal. I'm afraid that 10 of my master and 10 of your husbands would not be enough for him to pinch them with 2 fingers. Even this old fellow is dead. This shows how dangerous the ancient Starry Sky Road is, Xiao Tianquan said with a sad face. There are many dangerous places that not only depend on one's strength, but also on one's luck. On the ancient Starry Sky Road, I don't think that the stronger one is, the safer it is. Maybe the stronger one is, the more dangerous it is. Otherwise, why would those who have their tombstones placed there be all top powerhouses? Some of the weaker powerhouses who went to the ancient Starry Sky Road did not have their tombstones placed there, Big Sister Goo said reasonably. Maybe those ordinary powerhouses are not qualified to have their tombstones placed there. Xiao Tianquan still looked dejected. You damn dog. You should really die with your master. Big Sister Goo snapped. At this moment, there were already quite a few Star Realm powerhouses that had flown in front of the tombstone. After looking at it for a while, some of the bolder ones began to attack the tombstone. Since it is the tombstone of the deceased, why would it fall from the starry sky? If it falls like this, it will definitely be shattered, Shaoling Yu said in confusion. Who knows? Ever since the experts from the world of immortals started to climb the ancient star path, tombstones would occasionally fall from the sky. We have never been to the ancient star path, so we don't know what's up there. Big Sister Goo shook her head and said, on Grand Supreme Elderly Lord's tombstone, there was an insignia of an yin-yang fish. It looked like an extremely high-quality artifact. That seems to be Taishang Laojuan's innate spiritual treasure Taiji diagram. The howling celestial dog let out a cry of surprise. It then opened its mouth and spat out the 5 offensive magic treasures. It then excitedly charged towards the tombstone. Under the attacks of several Star Realm powerhouses, the tombstone was already covered in cracks. When the howling celestial dog rushed over, the tombstone suddenly exploded. What's there to fight for? Elderly Lord's Tai Chi diagram is a natural spiritual treasure. It has extremely high spirituality. It's not like anyone can take it for themselves unless they are stronger than Elderly Lord. Big Sister Gu did not rush over to fight for it. She only looked at the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram that was floating in the air with a serious expression. She even brought Xiao Lingyu and the others to a distance to prevent them from being affected by the battle between the Star Realm powerhouses. Actually, everyone knew that they might not be able to get the natural spiritual treasure by fighting for it. However, the Tai Chi diagram was right in front of them. They could not help but fight for it. Even an expert like the Howling Celestial Dog could not hold back. The Star Realm powerhouses saw that the Howling Celestial Dog was powerful and had powerful magic treasures. They immediately had a tacit understanding and attacked the Howling Celestial Dog together. Haha, fellow Taoists, this treasure fell near my Black Wind Mountain. It should belong to me, the Black Wind Old Monster. Don't fight for it. Just as the Howling Celestial Dog and the Star Realm powerhouses were fighting fiercely, a gust of wind wrapped around a surging black fog. It was accompanied by a burst of laughter. In just 2 breaths, the black fog had already engulfed the entire battlefield. This old monster's strength seems to have increased. Big Sister Gu brought Xiao Lingyu and the others back a distance. At the same time, she said with some surprise, under the cover of the black fog, Xiao Lingyu could only hear the continuous sounds of intense fighting. However, she could not see the situation inside. Her expression was calm. With Big Sister Gu and the Howling Celestial Dog here, even if the Black Wind Old Monster wanted to settle the score with her, Xiao Lingyu did not have to be afraid. Moreover, the Black Wind Old Monster might not even know who killed his disciple. In the black fog, the fierce battle lasted for nearly an hour. Only then did the Howling Celestial Dog rush out with the 5 treasures. It was still cursing unhappily. Damn it. You all think I look kind and want to fight me? I'm not going to play with you anymore. If you have the ability, you can snatch the Tai Chi diagram for me to see. Big Sister Gu looked at the Howling Celestial Dog's sorry state and could not help but laugh heartily. She said, "It's not that you look kind, it's just that you're too ugly. Anyone who sees you can't help but want to beat you up." The Howling Celestial Dog opened its mouth and put away the 5 treasures. Then, it said, "That's because there's a problem with your appreciation level. How's the Black Wind Old Monster's strength?" Big Sister Gu asked. "He's all right. He's definitely not as strong as me." The Howling Celestial Dog replied nonchalantly. "For what I see, even if he's not as strong as you, he's not that far off. Moreover, each of your treasures is extremely powerful. Without their help, you might not be able to defeat the Black Wind Old Monster." Big Sister Gu said, "Who said I can't have a few powerful treasures? They use treasures because of their own ability, and I'm using treasures because of external help?" The Howling Celestial Dog said, unconvinced. After waiting for another hour, Star Realm experts continuously flew out from the black fog. Each and every one of them had a gloomy complexion. After they came out, they did not stay for even a moment and immediately flew away. The black fog gradually dispersed. Only an old man, wearing a very loose black robe, was left in the field. That old man's sleeves were really too loose. As they fluttered in the wind, it made him look like a big black bat with its wings spread wide. The old man had a head of long hair, intertwined with black and white. It was also fluttering in the wind. Looking at the length of his hair, if it were to fall flat, it would directly touch the ground. This old man was the Black Wind Old Monster. He could be considered as one of the few experts in the southwest region of the Immortals' mainland. The Black Wind Old Monster actually relied on his own strength to beat back several Star Realm experts. Moreover, right now, he did not seem to be injured at all. It could be seen that his strength was tyrannical, and that yin-yang Tai Chi diagram was still quietly floating in the air. The Black Wind Old Monster was currently quietly observing it. His brows were almost knitted together. After observing for a while, the Black Wind Old Monster released his own power and soul power to wrap around the Tai Chi diagram. He tried to communicate with the Tai Chi diagram's spirituality. The reason why everyone was fighting with all their strength was actually to be the first to try to gain the recognition of the Tai Chi diagram spirituality. The Tai Chi diagram also quickly released a circle of black and white radiance that enveloped him. However, in just a moment, that circle of radiance disappeared, and the Tai Chi diagram did not have the slightest movement. Black Wind, this Tai Chi diagram doesn't care about you. The howling celestial dog leisurely flew over and said with a complacent tone, "Xiao Tian, do you think it will care about you?" The Black Wind, old monster, sneered. "That's not necessarily true. After all, it was left behind by an expert of our Earth lineage. Perhaps it will feel the rustic aura on me and submit to me." As the howling celestial dog finished speaking, he had already arrived under the Tai Chi diagram. Just like the Black Wind, old monster, he released his power and soul power to communicate with the Tai Chi diagram spirit. The Tai Chi diagram also released a circle of black and white radiance that enveloped the howling celestial dog. However, that circle of radiance also disappeared after that. There was no movement at all. "Huh." The Black Wind, old monster, laughed loudly and said, "Looks like the rustic aura on your body is useless." The howling celestial dog's expression was a little awkward. It used one of its front paws to scratch its head again. Then it waved its paws at Shaolin Yu and Big Sister Gu and said, "Don't just watch. Come and try too. Who knows, you might have a chance to obtain this connate spiritual treasure." Big Sister Gu smiled and flew over with Shaolin Yu and her family. "You little girl, go to the side first. This is a treasure left behind by an expert from Earth. Naturally, we have to try to make it recognize us as its master first." The howling celestial dog waved its paws at Big Sister Gu. Then it pointed at Shaolin Yu and said, "You go first." Wait. Before Big Sister Gu could say anything, the Black Wind, old monster, had already shouted softly. Everyone looked at the Black Wind, old monster beside him. They saw him pointing at Shaolin Yu and saying, "Kid, that useless disciple of mine was killed by you, right?" Big Sister Gu immediately said, "Black Wind, old monster, you can't say things like that." The howling celestial dog didn't care and said, "You said it yourself that your disciple was useless. No matter who killed him, he can only blame himself for not being skilled enough. He deserved to die." The Black Wind, old monster, sneered again and said, "I've never wronged or framed anyone. I've sent my disciples to investigate before. First, they found the cultivator who asked my disciple to kill him. Although he's already dead, I have countless disciples in Black Wind Ridge. I'll definitely be able to find out the truth." "Why, Black Wind, are you going to avenge your disciple?" The howling celestial dog's tone had changed. "Shouldn't I avenge my disciple?" The Black Wind, old monster, retorted. "To tell you the truth, this kid is now my new master. If you kill him, I'll be in trouble too. Do you still want to avenge him?" The howling celestial dog said directly. When the Black Wind, old monster, heard this, his frown deepened. He never thought that the howling celestial dog would recognize this kid as its master. He wasn't too afraid of the howling celestial dog, but if they really fought, he definitely wasn't confident that he could defeat it. Then he saw that Big Sister Gu was also standing beside the kid, as if they were going to advance or retreat together. The Black Wind, old monster, knew that his revenge was hopeless. At least, it was hopeless today. He hesitated and said, "I can let this kid go, but the Southern Star Pavilion is also looking for him. I'll wait for the Southern Star Pavilion to finish him off." Huh. Chapter 830. Shaolin Yu knew that the South Star Pavilion was precisely the great power that Mo Chi and the others belonged to. Not only did they control the Gourd City and the Floating Cloud City, even the entire southwest region of the Immortals continent was their territory. They were extremely powerful and had many astral extreme realm warriors. Shaolin Yu had already expected that South Star Pavilion would place a bounty on his family. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone into hiding. Black Wind, the entire southwest region of the Immortals mainland, has become South Star Pavilion's territory. Is your Black Wind Ridge also preparing to submit? Big Sister Goo asked curiously. Submit? What a joke. Black Wind's expression was indifferent as he said, They don't have the qualifications to make my Black Wind Ridge submit. Although Black Wind Ridge doesn't have as many experts as South Star Pavilion, and our entire power is not even 1/10,000th of theirs, my Black Wind Ridge is still not afraid of anyone in the southwest region of the Immortals mainland. When those elders of South Star Pavilion see me, they would have to call me Black Wind. South Star Pavilion might not be able to do anything to your Black Wind Ridge, but don't forget, South Star Pavilion is only a branch of Star Pavilion. Not to mention the entire Star Pavilion. Even if South Star Pavilion and West Star Pavilion join hands, they would still be able to flatten your Black Wind Ridge with minimal losses. Big Sister Goose said with a smile. They have no reason to launch a large-scale expedition against Black Wind Ridge. Black Wind said, Brat, they're chatting among themselves. What are you still standing there for? Xiao Tianquan urged Shaoling Yu. Shaoling Yu nodded. Then he shifted his attention to the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram left behind by Taishang Laojun. Although he didn't try to make it recognize him as its master, he was more than 80% sure that he could make it recognize him as its master. Sure enough, when he wrapped his power and soul power around the Tai Chi diagram, a black and white radiance enveloped his entire body. A moment later, the Tai Chi diagram suddenly trembled for a while. Then, it sank into his body and floated above his primal chaos nascent soul. It slowly rotated. Congratulations, congratulations, Big Sister Goose said with a smile. As expected, you are a brat with great fortune. That old bastard Hong Jun is quite accurate, Xiao Tianquan said. Oomph. Black Wind coldly snorted. He flew away with a face full of displeasure. He didn't even bid farewell. This fellow must be thinking that since we can't make the Taiji diagram recognize us as its master, he will bring the Taiji diagram back and let his disciples try it one by one. Big Sister Gu guessed. After all, this is Xiao Tianquan said with a firm tone. I still feel that something is amiss. Of all places, why did old Lord Taishang's tombstone fall? Why did it fall right beside us? Shaoling Yu's face was full of doubt. He felt that this matter could not be explained by coincidence. What's the point of thinking so much? As long as the treasure is in our hands, it's fine. Even if some expert did this on purpose, he probably didn't have any bad intentions, the howling celestial dog said nonchalantly. While I get the benefits, there must be some troubles waiting for me to solve. Maybe I have to pay a price. Even if a pie falls from the sky, the Immortals mainland is so big. There is no reason for it to fall in front of us. Shaoling Yu said with a bitter smile. There may be a problem, but be careful in the future. You can't just throw away the innate spiritual treasure that you obtained with great difficulty. Big Sister Goose said calmly. You guys are just too smart. You're always suspicious of this and that. How tiring. Look at me, I am so carefree. I don't have to worry about anything. Even if the sky falls, there is a tall one to hold it up. Xiao Tianquan said lazily. Senior, although you have a free and easy temperament, aren't you still running around? If the sky really falls and the tall one is gone, what are we going to do? Shaoling Yu shook his head and said, This is what you self-proclaimed smart cultivators should worry about. Anyway, I don't have to think about anything. I will go to the ancient starry sky path to find my master after I finish what those guys told me. The celestial hound waved its front paw disinterestedly and reminded, The Grand Supreme Elderly Lord has already fallen. His Tishita Palace has also become an ownerless object. I'm afraid it won't be long before it appears again. Now that you have the yin-yang taiji diagram, it might be able to give you some guidance and let you find the Tishita Palace first. Let's not talk about this for now. Let's find a place to stay. Old Monster Black Wind might not be able to avenge himself, but he might leak our whereabouts to the Southern Star Pavilion, Big Sister Goose said kindly. You guys go find a place. I have to do something else. Xiao Tianquan waved his paw. Senior, you are leaving again? Shaoling Yu frowned. Yes, In order to go to the ancient starry sky path to meet my master as soon as possible, I have to finish what they told me. Xiao Tianquan nodded. Senior, are you sure you don't need help? Xiao Yu asked kindly. I do, but if you guys follow me, you will only make things worse. It would be better if you guys had reached the celestial extremity realm. Xiao Tianquan said non-committally. Senior, please be careful. Xiao Yu naturally would not force it to stay. Don't worry. This damn dog is not as brave as you think. It will never touch dangerous things. Big Sister Gu said sarcastically. You are such a snob, a snob. Do you know where I went before? You will be scared to death if I tell you. Xiao Tianquan said unhappily. Where? Is it the center of the heavenly star forest? Big Sister Gu glanced at Xiao Tianquan and asked curiously. I went to Thunder Sky Mountain's Heavenly Thunder Peak last time. Xiao Tianquan said proudly. Big Sister Gu was stunned at first. Then she said, forget it. With your courage and ability, you dare to go to Heavenly Thunder Peak where only Celestial Extremity Realm Masters dare to go? Even if you really went to Thunder Sky Mountain, you must have wandered around the foot of the mountain. You don't believe me when I say you are wrong. Do you know where I am going this time? You will be scared to death if I tell you. Xiao Tianquan seemed to be showing off. Where? Big Sister Gu asked. Xiao Yu could tell that Big Sister Gu did not believe it. She was just trying to get information out of it. This time, I'm going to the Demon Abyss Hell's Evil Spirit Island. Xiao Tianquan raised its head high, like a hero about to go to war. Damn dog, why are you going there? Do you want to die? Big Sister Gu asked in shock. You don't have to worry about that. Although this trip is very dangerous, I am not afraid. After Xiao Tianquan finished speaking, it flew away with a strong sense of righteousness. It really did look like it was going to face thousands of demons. First to Heavenly Thunder Peak, then to Evil Spirit Island. Could it be? Big Sister Gu did not finish her sentence, but her expression was even more shocked. It was as if she could not believe her own speculation. What is it, Big Sister Gu? Xiao Yu felt that something was wrong, so she asked. If I'm not wrong, this damn dog must have gone to Heavenly Thunder Peak and secretly caught a Thunder Spirit. Then, it sent the Thunder Spirit to Evil Spirit Island in the Demon Abyss Hell and let the Thunder Spirit destroy the seal on Evil Spirit Island. But if that is really the case, then it is to release the Evil Spirit Demon Lord. This is not good for the cultivators of the realm of immortals. Why would it do that? Big Sister Gu was very confused. Xiao Tianquan Sr. was asked to do this by an expert. It probably doesn't know why it is doing this. Xiao Yu said, forget about it. Even if it is as I guessed, even if that damn dog stole an Extreme Star Realm Thunder Spirit, it will take at least 10 million years to break the seal on Evil Spirit Island. Let's find a place to hide first. Big Sister Gu said, and took out the round alms bowl again. According to the previous plan, Big Sister Gu drove the round alms bowl and continued to fly northeast. They were getting closer and closer to the Heavenly Star Forest in the center of the Immortals' mainland. When they passed by some big cities, Big Sister Gu also sold all kinds of treasures that she and Ling had collected over the years. She also spent a lot of yang crystals to buy some resources that everyone needed for cultivation. In the years that they left Gourd Island, Big Sister Gu and Ling could be said to have a bountiful harvest. The yang crystals they exchanged were in the hundreds of millions. Xiao Yu and the other cultivators looked like they had a lot, but no matter how much they squandered, they could not hope to use up all the yang crystals in Xiao Yu and Big Sister Gu's storage rings. In the blink of an eye, more than 300 years had passed since they parted with Xiao Tianquan. Big Sister Gu suddenly pointed at a big mountain in front of them and said, that's the Hot Spring Mountain Range. It covers a large area. There are many deep caves and underground passages. Let's hide there for a while. From afar, the Hot Spring Mountain Range was shrouded in a thick mist. Countless mountains were faintly discernible. It looked like a good place. However, when they got closer, they discovered that the Hot Spring Mountain Range was filled with rich water energy. There was also a pungent smell that was released after burning sulfur. When they sensed it carefully, they discovered that there seemed to be a strong fire energy fluctuation in the hot spring mountain range. Not long after they entered the mountain range, Xiaoling Yu heard more than 10 explosions. Occasionally, they could even feel that the mountains were shaking violently. This place is a little special. Water and fire exist together. The two attributes are completely different, and they are both very rich. Therefore, there is often an energy conflict. The explosions are earth-shattering. Although there are countless hot springs here, cultivators don't have the leisure to take a bath. The hot springs don't make cultivators feel very comfortable. The environment here is also very strange and not very quiet. Therefore, there aren't many cultivators in the hot spring mountain range. Big Sister Gu explained as she led everyone into the mountain range. However, you can all be at ease. Apart from the frequent explosions and tremors, there isn't much danger here. There are some ferocious beasts and birds of prey, but their cultivation levels are below Xingji's. They aren't much of a threat to everyone. As she spoke, a large bird flapped its wings and pounced towards them. Big Sister Gu waved her hand and shot out a beam of brilliant starfire, killing the bird on the spot. After flying for nearly 10 days, Big Sister Gu finally stopped. She said, "We've reached the depths of the mountain range. There's a cave over there. Let's go take a look." "I don't like it here," Xiao and I said with a pout. The other children nodded in agreement. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.